All right, and we're
says
live.
Ah!
Hello, everyone. We are live.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh my God.
Says there's no one there yet. Hold on. Let me see.
We'll wait.
Here.
I've had improv shows that
Be
started like
patient.
that.
All of them.
Mm-hmm.
Audience
God.
is coming.
And then
been
it's
so
like,
long.
and then one guy is walking past. Here's what we're playing, and like
And
waves
runs.
his friends over.
Now they run.
Yeah.
Hey guys, hear this fresh new sound.
Well, listen to this.
Listen, Marvin Barry.
All right, there we go.
Who is playing Marvin Barry today? Is that you,
Me, I
Chris?
think.
Yeah.
No, it's Nick. Yeah.
I think I'm the male Crystal Beth.
Yeah.
Which is
Mhm.
what I tell my agent.
And he's like, who or she? Is this a drug thing that the new kids are doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a really twee version of crystal meth.
Yeah. All right.
It's like
Okay.
Jingle Jingle.
Let's get started. Okay, so welcome everyone to our live reading of Back to the Future. Let's introduce our cast. We'll go down the line.
Yeah.
We've got Zach Luna here playing Marty McFly.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. Yay.
We've got Naomi Wong playing Doc Brown. Emma Brown? Or are we just gonna go with Emmett?
I'm just gonna go with Emmett. What's the point
Okay.
of changing things? I don't
Alright.
have to remember otherwise.
We are still calling him Emmett.
I can be a dude.
Hmm.
It's in my wheelhouse.
It's called
Yeah.
acting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
We've
like that
got-
too. Yeah.
Motivation.
We've got Andrew Ball as George McFly.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
We've got Chelsi Kern as Lorraine Baines
That's
/
me.
Baines McFly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We've got Chris O'Connor as Biff Tannen.
Hey.
And then in our miscellaneous roles, we have Nick Jimenez
Hello.
and Crystal Beth.
Hello.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. The draft that we are reading today is dated October 12th, 1984, with revisions being done on February 28th, 1985. So this is the shooting draft of the script written by Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale.
Woo.
All right, here we go.
Oh,
Back to
man.
the Future. Interior, Brown's Garage, 1985. Close on a ticking clock showing 2 minutes to 8. Camera moves, exploring, revealing more clocks of all varieties. Cuckoo clocks, digital clocks, a grandfather clock, Felix the cat with moving eyes, and all of them are ticking away in dead sync. We continue exploring the garage, noting in no particular order a jet engine, a stack of unpaid bills addressed to Dr. E. Brown, marked overdue, automotive tools, electronic parts, discarded Burger King wrappers, a video camera, an unmade army cot. We go past a clock radio. It lights up and comes on.
Weather for Hill Valley and vicinity for today, Friday, October 25th. Partly cloudy with a chance of drizzles.
Now we come to a coffee maker with a built-in clock timer. It too turns on, only there is no coffee pot. Boiling coffee drips into an already wet hot plate. Another timer triggers a TV set. An AM newscast is in progress, and the anchor woman talks against a slide. Plutonium theft with the yellow and purple radiation symbol.
Officials at the Pacific Nuclear Research Facility have denied the rumor that a case of missing plutonium was in fact stolen from their storehouse 2 weeks ago. A Libyan terrorist group had recently claimed responsibility for the alleged theft. Officials now attribute the discrepancy to a simple clerical error. The FBI, which is still investigating the matter, had no comment.
We pass a toaster attached to a timer. 2 pieces of black toast sit on it. And as the timer clicks on, the ashen toast drops into the toaster again. Clearly, we are seeing a morning routine for someone who hasn't been home for a while. On the floor, a timer clicks on an electric can opener with an empty can of dog food. The empty can goes around. Below it in a dog dish labeled Einstein is dog food that's been sitting for a while. Now we hear a key turning in the service door. A pair of feet in Nike tennis shoes enter.
Doc? Dr. Brown? Hello? Anybody home?
A skateboarder is dropped onto the floor and rolls under the army cot, coming to rest against a yellow case with purple radioactivity symbols stamped plutonium, property of Pacific Nuclear Research Facility. A series of shots and close images. Hands connect wires to terminals. Fingers flip switches, illuminating power on lights on consoles. Hands twist rheostats? Needles on gauge. That's a word I've never seen before in my life. Needles on gauges jump to life. A hand poses in readiness over a set of guitar strings about to play. Fingers turn a calibrating knob from 3 to 10. Wider as we see a high school age kid, we can't see his face, ready to play his electric guitar. It's connected through a battery of amplifying equipment into a huge speaker 10 feet tall. The kid hits it. There is a tremendous explosion from the speaker, which literally blasts the kid off his feet and into a set of shelves, which collapse, covering him with books, tools, and junk. The blown speaker smokes. As the stunned kid regains his senses and looks around, he is Marty McFly, 17, dressed in jeans and a jean jacket.
Oh, now that's what I call music.
As Marty picks himself up, a huge alarm bell on the wall clangs. Marty runs over to the phone and answers it.
Yo.
Marty, thank God I found you there.
Doc, where you been all week?
Oh, never mind that now. Listen, can you meet me at the Twin Pines Mall tonight at 1:15?
1:15 in the morning?
Right. I've made a major breakthrough and I'll need your assistance.
Okay, but Doc, what's going on?
I'll give you all the details at the appropriate time. Don't forget now, tomorrow morning, 1:15 a.m.
Yeah, Doc, about your amplifier.
Oh, that's right. Whatever you do, don't use the app. There's a slight possibility of overload.
I was just thinking that.
Suddenly, all of the clocks strike 8 at once. Chimes, cuckoos, and digital beeps all toll in a bizarre cacophony.
Oh, are those my clocks I hear?
Yep, it's 8 o'clock.
Oh, perfect. My experiment worked. They're all exactly 25 minutes slow.
25 minutes slow? Doc, you telling me it's almost 8:30?
Precisely.
Yeah, I'm gonna be late for school.
Marty hangs up. He puts his Walkman headphones on, grabs his backpack, and reaches down to retrieve his skateboard. Once again, we see the plutonium case, but Marty doesn't. Outside Brown's garage, the door opens. Marty throws his skateboard down and hops on. He hits play on the Walkman, and hot rock music kicks in as main titles begin. Marty skateboards past the garage, an architectural gem that has seen far better days, and past a Burger King. A truck is pulling out. Marty grabs the back of it and hitches a toe down the street. Marty is towed down another street on his way toward town square and school. As the truck he's on continues forward, Marty lets go and turns down an intersecting street. Titles continue as Marty skateboards through a town square that has seen better days. We will particularly note the Essex Adult Movie Theater featuring wet teenage sluts, all seats $5, a modern self-serve Texaco station where an old lady gets no help as she pumps her own gas, Lou's Aerobic Fitness Center where 15 or 20 mostly women are exercising in the window, the Bank of America where customers wait in line at the Versateller, Ask Me Foster Travel advertising 10 days in Hawaii, a dilapidated Welcome to Hill Valley sign on the corner, the main square in front of the old courthouse, a parking lot for the Department of Social Services, and the abandoned town theater, all boarded up with Assembly of Christ on the marquee. Marty hooks up on another vehicle and is towed along to Hill Valley High School. The front of the school has chipped paint and graffiti on the walls. Marty arrives, hops off the skateboard, kicks it up, and runs up the stairs. An attractive girl rushes out toward him. She is Jennifer Parker, 17. The two of them are an item.
Jennifer.
Marty, you're late. Don't go in this way. Strickland's looking for you. 2 more tardies and you'll get a detention.
Interior school hallway. Jennifer peeks around the corner and down the hall.
I think we're safe.
This time it wasn't my fault. Doc said all her clocks 25 minutes slow.
The doc! Am I to understand that you're still hanging around with Dr. Emmett Brown, McFly?
They turn. It's Mr. Strickland, the stern, no-nonsense disciplinarian.
A tardy slip for you, Miss Parker, and another for you, McFly. I believe that makes 4 in a row. Now let me give you a nickel's worth of free advice, young man. That so-called Dr. Brown is dangerous. He's a real nutcase. You fool around with him and you're going to end up in big trouble.
Yes, sir.
Clearly, Marty's looking forward to that kind of trouble.
You've got a real attitude problem, McFly. You're a slacker. You remind me of your father when he went here. He was a slacker too.
Can I go now, Mr. Strickland?
I noticed you're on the roster for the dance auditions after school. Why even bother, McFly? You don't have a chance. You're too much like your old man. No McFly ever amounted to anything in the history of Hill Valley.
Yeah? Well, history's gonna change.
Later at the school gym, we're close on a sign reading auditions, Battle of the Bands. Jennifer Parker stands at the side of the stage and gestures with crossed fingers and a hopeful expression. The object of her attention is Marty on stage with his band, the Pinheads. Marty acknowledges her, then steps forward to address the dance committee.
All right, we're the Pinheads, and we're gonna rock and roll.
They kick into a red-hot number. Marty's fingers dance across the strings and frets in a complicated lead line. He's terrific, and the band sounds great. They only get about 25 seconds into the number when a voice calls out.
That's enough. Thank you.
Marty and the group stop playing, exchanging bewildered glances. In the town square later, an election sound vehicle wipes the screen with red, white, and blue blunting proclaiming re-elect Mayor Goldie Wilson, honesty, decency, integrity, and a picture of the incumbent. Mayor Wilson is black, about 50, with a gold front tooth. The truck broadcasts a campaign speech by the mayor. Marty and Jennifer are walking together. She carries her school books. He has the skateboard, and he's depressed.
Marty, one rejection isn't the end of the world.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just not cut out for music.
But you're good, Marty. You're really good. And this audition tape of yours is great. You've got to send it to that record company.
Yeah, that's what Doc Brown keeps telling me. Confidence. If you put your mind to it, you can do anything.
That's good advice, Marty.
Yeah, but what if I send it in and they hate it? What if they tell me I'm no good? What if they say, get out of here, kid. You got no future. Why should I put myself through that kind of anxiety? Jeez, I'm starting to sound like my old man.
Well, they say all of our emotional anxieties come directly from our parents.
In that case, you can kiss me right off now.
Come on, Marty. Your father's not that bad.
I think deep down inside he means well, but the man just can't get it together.
At least he's letting you borrow the car tomorrow night. That's a major step in the right direction.
Marty spots a tricked out 4x4 truck on display in the town square parking lot.
Hey, check out that 4x4. Wouldn't it be great to take that up to the lake tomorrow night? We put our sleeping bags in the back, make out under the stars. Someday, Jennifer, someday.
What about your mother? Does she know?
Are you kidding? She thinks I'm going camping with the guys. If she found out I was going camping with you, she'd freak. And I get the standard lecture about how she never behaved that way when she was in high school. She's been a real goody two-shoes.
They pause across from the former courthouse building.
She's just trying to keep you respectable.
She's not doing a very good job, is she?
They move closer.
Terrible.
They're about to kiss.
Save the clock tower!
Oh, God.
Marty and Jennifer turn. A middle-aged church group type woman has a donation can and an armful of printed flyers.
Oh God, I lost my spot. Mayor Wilson is sponsoring an initiative to repair the clock.
She points to the stop clock on the old courthouse building.
30 years ago, lightning struck that clock tower, and the clock hasn't run since. We at the Hill Valley Preservation Society think it should be preserved exactly the way it is, as a part of our history and heritage.
Okay, all right, lady. Here's a quarter.
Marty drops a quarter into a can and turns toward Jennifer again, but before he can move closer, the clock woman sticks a flyer in front of his face.
Don't forget to take the flyer. It tells the whole story of the clock tower.
Marty grabs the flyer out of her hand.
Thank you.
She moves along to bother someone else.
Now, where were we?
Right about here.
They move closer again as before, about to kiss. A car horn honks loudly. Jennifer turns away.
Oh, that's my dad. I gotta go.
This is not my day. I'll call you tonight.
I'll be at my grandma's. Here's the number.
She writes something down on the back of the clock flyer handout and gives it to him. Marty takes it and she hops into the waiting car. Marty watches it go, then looks at the paper Jennifer just gave him. Insert note, along with the phone number, she's written, I love you. Marty smiles, then looks at the back of it, a reprint of the newspaper article about the clock tower. He folds it up and puts it in his pocket and hops on his skateboard. A pickup truck cruises down the road with Marty towed behind it on his skateboard. As the truck passes an intersecting street, Marty lets go. That's where he's going. A pair of dilapidated-looking lion statues indicates the entrance to a subdivision. Lion Estates. The lions are someone's failed idea of class, and they're chipped, weathered, and covered with graffiti. Marty disappears behind them, and we hold a beat. A wrecker is in the McFly driveway with a 1979 Plymouth Reliant in tow. Its front end is completely smashed as if someone rammed it into a brick wall. The truck driver is unhitching it. Marty skateboards up to the scene and is shocked.
Oh my God, the car is wrecked.
Marty rushes into the house. Interior McFly living room. Marty enters and sees Biff Tannen, an intimidating lout at 48, lambasting Marty's father, George McFly, a timid man of 47.
I can't believe you did this, McFly, you Irish bug. I can't loan me a car without telling me it had a blind spot. I could have been killed.
Yeah, I never noticed any blind spot before.
What are you, blind, McFly? It's there. How else can you explain that wreck out there?
Can I assume your insurance will pay for the damage?
Couldn't hear you. My insurance? It's your car. Your insurance should pay for it. I want to know who's going to pay for this. I spilled beer all over it when that car hit me. Who's going to pay the cleaning bill?
George hesitates, then meekly pulls out his wallet.
Do you think $20 will cover it?
Biff snatches the $20 bill out of George's hand.
It's a start. And hey, where's my reports?
Well, I haven't finished them yet. I figured since they weren't due until Monday.
Hello? Anybody home? Think, McFly. Think. I got to get them retyped. If I turn them in the reports in your handwriting, I'll get fired.
Okay, I'll finish them tonight and run them over first thing in the morning.
Not too early. I sleep in on Saturday. Oh, hey, McFly. Your shoe's untied.
Huh?
He looks down and Biff hits him in the chin. Biff laughs loudly.
Don't be so gullible, McFly.
Biff heads toward the door and notices Marty staring at him.
What are you looking at, butthead?
Biff exits. Marty shakes his head and steps over to his father, outraged. He's about to say something, but George raises his hand and cuts him off.
I know what you're going to say, son, and you're right. You're right. But he happens to be my supervisor, and I'm afraid I'm just not very good at confrontations.
Dad, he wrecked your car. He totaled it. I was counting on using that tomorrow night. Do you have any idea how important this was to me, Dad? Do you have any idea at all?
I know, son, and all I can say is I'm sorry.
Dad, did it ever occur to you to say no? Just once. Try saying no.
Son, I know it's hard for you to understand, but the fact is, I'm just not a fighter.
Try it once, Dad. Just one time. Say no. N-O, no.
Now there's a rap on the screen door as Howard, the pot-bellied next-door neighbor, steps in with his daughter, 11, wearing a Little League uniform.
Hey, McFly. Yeah, my kid's selling peanut brittle for a team. It's $5 a box. I'm putting you down for a case, okay, McFly?
Marty shakes his head. George hesitates, gulps.
Well, okay.
See, Michelle, I told you we'd only have to go to one house.
Marty shakes his head helplessly. At the McFly dinner table, the McFly family is dining on meatloaf, Kraft macaroni and cheese, bird's eye, mixed vegetables, and French's instant mashed potatoes. Marty's mother, Lorraine, 47, was once very attractive. Now she's overweight, in a rut, a victim of suburban stagnation. She has more food on her plate than anyone else and a glass of vodka. George has papers in front of him instead of food. He's doing the work Biff gave him. He's also glancing at the TV, which is tuned into the Honeymooners rerun. Sister Linda, 19, is cute but wears too much eye makeup. Brother Dave, 22, wears a McDonald's uniform and is wolfing down his food.
Believe me, son, you're better off not having the aggravation of dealing with that YMCA dance. You'd have to worry about getting all your equipment there, making contingency plans in case someone got sick, making sure you got paid correctly, settling with the musicians union. What if you were so good that other people wanted to hire you? You have to worry about scheduling your jobs around school. Believe me, son, you're better off without those headaches.
He's right, Marty. If there's one thing you don't need, it's headaches.
Marty nods unenthusiastically. Lorraine brings in a cake which says, "Welcome home, Uncle Joey," with a black bird flying out of a barred prison window.
Kids, I guess we're gonna have to eat this cake by ourselves. Your Uncle Joey didn't make parole again. I think it would be nice if you all dropped him a line.
Uncle Jailbird Joey.
Oh, he's your brother, Mom.
Yeah. It's like a major embarrassment having an uncle in prison.
We all make mistakes, children.
Damn, I'm late.
He wipes his mouth and hurries off.
Watch your language, David.
Jennifer Parker called, wants you to call her back.
I don't like her, Marty. Any girl who calls up a boy is looking for trouble. Pass the mashed potatoes, please.
Marty passes them and Lorraine takes a big helping.
Oh, mother, there's nothing wrong with calling a boy.
Well, I think it's terrible. Girls chasing boys. I never chased a boy when I was your age. I never called a boy or asked a boy on a date or sat in a parked car with a boy. Because when you behave like that, boys won't respect you, Linda. They'll think you're cheap.
Linda rolls her eyes. She's heard this a million times.
Then how are you ever supposed to meet anybody?
It'll just happen, like the way I met your father.
Oh, but that was so stupid. Grandpa hit him with a car.
It was meant to be.
I still don't understand what Dad was doing in the middle of the street anyway.
What was it, George? Bird watching?
Huh? Did you say something, Lorraine?
Anyway, Grandpa hit him with the car and brought him into the house. He seemed so helpless, like a little lost puppy, and my heart just went out to him.
Yeah, Mom, you've told us a million times. Florence Nightingale to the rescue.
The next weekend we went on our first date, the Enchantment Under the Sea school dance. I'll never forget it. It was the night of that terrible thunderstorm. You remember, George?
What's that, dear?
Your father kissed me for the very first time on that dance floor, and that was when I realized I was going to spend the rest of my life with him.
Marty and Linda exchange a look and shake their heads.
I can't believe Dad actually got the nerve to kiss you in public.
Well, I may have encouraged him a little.
I bet you had to practically jump his bones.
Marty gets up, finished eating, and exits. Lorraine looks at George, then smiles demurely to herself.
Thinking back on it, I did.
We're in Marty's bedroom. Marty's walls are covered with posters of rock stars and cars, particularly the Toyota 4x4. There's also a portable home synthesizer, a tape recorder, and a stack of lead sheets. Marty sits at his desk with a submission form that has an RNG Records letterhead, an envelope, and the cassette tape Jennifer Parker gave him. There's also a picture of Jennifer there. He signs the form and puts it in the envelope along with the cassette tape. He is about to seal it. Then he hesitates and ponders a moment. He stares at the envelope. It's addressed to RNG Records New Talent Division. He sighs, shakes his head, pulls the tape out and chucks the envelope and application into the trash can. Marty sighs, then kicks back on the bed, sprawls out. He closes his eyes. Later, it's almost 12:30. The camera pans to pick up Marty lying asleep on the bed, fully clothed. Now Marty's cordless phone beeps. Marty stirs and answers it.
Hello?
You didn't fall asleep, did you?
No, of course not.
Listen, I forgot my video camera. Could you stop by my place and pick it up on your way to the mall?
No problem, Doc.
Marty hangs up and he looks at the clock, then shoves pillows under his covers to make it look like he's asleep. He takes his Walkman, his orange down vest, his skateboard, and opens the bedroom window. He climbs out. At the Twin Pines Mall parking lot, a camera pans from the lit entrance sign depicting 2 pine trees in a row with Twin Pines Mall in lettering below, along with a digital clock at 1:18 a.m. To pick up Marty on his skateboard with Walkman and video camera. Marty skateboards around a corner of the mall and sees an oversized step van with a drop-down tailgate, like a ramp, all by itself in the vast sodium vapor-lit parking lot. It's beat up and has letters on the side, Dr. E. Brown Enterprise, Enterprise's 24-hour scientific services. A large dog sits patiently beside it. The animal has a battery-operated digital clock attached to its collar. There are a few boxes, some equipment, and a suitcase nearby. Marty skateboards over to the truck and the dog.
Doc, hello? Hi, Einstein. Where's the doc? Where's the doc, boy?
We hear an engine rev up. The truck engine? The rear truck doors suddenly open and a sleek stainless steel DeLorean drives down the drop-down gate onto the parking lot. It's been modified with coils and some wicked-looking units at the rear engine. Marty stares at it in amazement. The DeLorean pulls up to him and stops. The gull-wing driver's door opens, and out steps Dr. Emmett Brown, 65. He's clad in a white radiation suit, hood off. His hair is wild, his eyes full of life and energy.
Good evening, Marty. Welcome to my latest experiment. This is the big one, the one I've been waiting for my whole life.
Marty ogles the vehicle.
It's a DeLorean. What did you do to it? What's with the Devo suit?
Bear with me, Marty. All your questions will be answered. Roll the tape and we'll proceed.
Marty raises the camera. Brown clears his throat and addresses the camera.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Emmett Brown. I'm standing here on the parking lot at Twin Pines Mall. It's Saturday morning, October 26th, 1985, 1:19 a.m., and this is temporal experiment number 1. Come on, Einstein, get in, boy.
The dog obediently jumps in and sits in the driver's seat. Brown buckles him in with a shoulder harness.
Please note that that Einstein's clock here is in precise synchronization with my control watch.
Brown holds up a digital watch next to Einstein's clock. Indeed, the two are in dead sync.
Good luck, Einie.
Brown reaches in and starts the ignition. The DeLorean engine roars to life. Brown turns on the headlights and lowers the gull-wing door, sealing Einstein in. He steps back and picks up a remote control unit, similar to one for a radio-controlled toy car. There are buttons labeled accelerator and brake, a joystick, and an LED digital readout labeled miles per hour. Brown flicks the power switch on and, using the accelerator button and joystick for steering, sends the DeLorean down to the far end of the parking lot. He turns the car around so that it's pointing toward them, idling.
Here we go, Marty. Now, if my calculations are correct, once the car hits 88 miles per hour, you're going to see some serious shit.
Brown takes a deep breath, then pushes the accelerator button. The DeLorean takes off, shifting gears automatically. The LED speedometer passes 30. The stainless steel vehicle zooms faster, past 40. Marty is getting it all on tape. Brown watches intently. The speedometer climbs past 60. In the car, Einstein remains calmly in the driver's seat. Gauges and instrument lights mounted behind him begin flashing. Brown's fingers hold the accelerator button down. The meter passes 75. The DeLorean keeps accelerating, approaching Marty and Brown. The coils mounted around the car begin glowing. The speedometer hits 85, 86, 87, 88. The automobile is suddenly engulfed by a blinding white glow. Then blam, it's gone. A trail of fire left in its wake. Brown and Marty are hit by a sharp blast of air. Marty blinks in disbelief. It's as if the car never existed. Only the license plate is left behind, a vanity plate. No time, as it says in the script.
What did I tell you? 88 miles an hour. Temporal displacement occurred at exactly 1:02 a.m. and 0 seconds.
Christ almighty, you disintegrated Einstein!
Calm down, Marty. I didn't disintegrate anything. The molecular structure of both Einstein and the car are completely intact.
Well, then where the hell are they?
The appropriate question is, when the hell are they? You see, Einstein has just become the world's first time traveler. I sent him into the future, 1 minute into the future to be exact, and at exactly 1:03 a.m. and 0 seconds, we shall catch up to him and the time machine.
Time machine. Now, are you trying to tell me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
Well, the way I figured it, if you're going to build a time machine into a car, why not do it with some style? Besides, the stainless steel construction made the flux dispersal. 10 seconds, roll tape, and brace yourself for a sudden displacement of air.
Marty aims the camera right where the DeLorean disappeared. Brown grips the remote control unit tightly and counts down. 5,
4, 3, 2, 1.
Their hair stands up on end, charged with static electricity. Suddenly, a sharp blast of wind comes up out of nowhere, along with a deafening sonic boom, and the DeLorean reappears right where it vanished, still going 88 miles per hour. Brown hits the brake button, the car wheels lock up, and the DeLorean comes to a screeching halt, smoke pouring off the body. Brown and Marty rush over to the car. Brown approaches cautiously and reaches for the door handle. He touches it and recoils in pain.
Is it hot?
It's cold, damn cold.
Brown raises the driver's side door. There sits Einstein, none the worse for wear. Brown again compares his watch with Einstein's. Einstein's reads 11:20 with 10 seconds. Brown's is 1:20 with 10 seconds. Brown's is 1:21 with 10 seconds.
Exactly 1 minute difference and still ticking.
Is Einstein all right?
Brown unbuckles the shoulder harness, and Einstein bounds out, happy and playful. Brown gives the dog a milk bone reward.
Good boy, Einie. He's fine and completely unaware that anything happened. As far as he's concerned, the trip was instantaneous. That's why his watch is a minute behind mine. He skipped over that minute to instantly arrive at this moment in time. Oh, come here. Let me show you how it works.
Marty is still a bit skeptical, uneasy. Brown waves him over like a kid who wants to show off a new toy. Marty approaches cautiously.
First, you turn the time circuits on.
Brown flips the labeled switch. An array of indicator lights go on.
Makes sense.
This readout tells you where you're going. This one tells you where you are. And this one tells you where you were.
The three readouts are respectively labeled destination time, present time, and last time departed.
You input your destination time on this keypad. Now, you want to see the signing of the Declaration of Independence?
He punches 7/4/1776. The destination time readout lights up with the date.
Or witness the birth of Christ?
He punches 12/25/0.
Now here's a red letter date in the history of science. November 5th, 1955.
He pauses, realizes something, as if something suddenly makes sense to him.
Yes, of course. November 5th, 1955.
What happened then?
Oh, that was the day I invented time travel. I remember it vividly. I was standing on the edge of my toilet hanging a clock. The porcelain was wet. I slipped and hit my head on the sink, and when I came to, I had a revelation. A vision, a picture in my head, a picture of this.
Brown points to a particular centerpiece unit mounted inside the DeLorean. Marty aims the video camera and gets it on tape. He continues taping as Dr. Brown explains.
This is what makes time travel possible. The flux capacitor.
Flux capacitor, huh?
It's taken me almost 30 years and my entire family fortune to fulfill the vision of that day. Oh my God, has it been that long? I've been working on this for 29 years, 11 months, and 355 days, excluding vacations, of course. Almost 30 years. Amazing. Things have certainly changed. This all used to be farmland here, as far as the eye could see.
This is heavy duty, Doc. It runs on, like, regular unleaded gasoline?
Well, unfortunately, no. It requires something with a little more kick.
Brown indicates a container with purple radioactivity symbols on it.
Plutonium? You mean this sucker's nuclear?
Electrical, but I need a nuclear reactor to generate the 1.21 gigawatts of electricity I need. The flux capacitor stores it, then discharges it all at once like a gigantic bolt of lightning.
Hold the phone, Doc. Plutonium's illegal. Did you rip it off?
Of course. It's from a group of Libyan nationalists. They wanted me to build them a bomb, so I took their plutonium and in turn gave them a shiny bomb casing full of used pinball machine parts. Let's get Einstein in the truck. We must prepare to reload.
Close on the plutonium container as Brown's gloved hands remove a 4-inch cylinder with a plutonium rod within. It's surrounded by water. Marty is now dressed in a yellow radiation suit. Both he and Brown have their hoods up. The DeLorean has been moved closer to the truck. Marty videotapes as Brown steps over to the rear of the DeLorean and places the plutonium cylinder into the loading hopper. The plutonium rod drops down into the reactor, which then seals shut.
It's safe now. Everything is lead-lined.
Marty removes his head. Einstein watches from the truck.
Oh! Mustn't forget my luggage.
Brown grabs his suitcase and puts it in the trunk. It's in the front.
Who knows if they'll have cotton underwear in the future? I'm allergic to all synthetics.
Brown slams the trunk shut.
The future? Is that where you're going?
That's right. 25 years into the future. I've always dreamed of seeing the future, looking beyond my years, observing the progress of mankind. I'll also be able to find out who wins the next 25 World Series.
Well, be sure to look me up when you get there. I'll fill you in on what's been happening.
Indeed I will. I, Dr. Emmett Brown, am about to embark on a historic journey.
Suddenly, Einstein starts barking at something.
What is it, Einie?
Brown turns and reacts with horror to an approaching pair of headlights. It's an ominous van.
Oh no, they found me. I don't know how, but they found me.
Who?
The Libyans I ripped off.
The van's side door slides open and a swarthy character who resembles Yasser Arafat leans out with an AK-47 machine gun. He opens fire.
Run for it, Marty. I'll draw their fire.
Brown runs into his truck, rummages around, and comes out with a .45 revolver. He tries to fire at the van, but the gun won't work. He then breaks for the mall, a good 500 yards away. Einstein watches from Brown's truck. The terrorist van screeches around sharply and gives chase. The terrorists fire a machine gun blast.
Doc, no, wait!
But Doc keeps running, and the van closes the distance. No way can Brown outrun it to the mall. The terrorist gunner screams a Libyan curse, then fires a burst at Brown. The bullets rip into Brown's chest, and the scientist goes down. Marty stands frozen in horror, video camera still in hand.
Doc! Oh my God! You bastards!
As if hearing Marty, the van makes a U-turn. It's coming for Marty. Marty looks around. He's out in the open, and he has only one chance, the DeLorean. Marty dashes for it. The Libyan gunner takes aim and pulls the trigger, but the weapon jams. He jerks the mechanism, trying to unjam it. He swears in Libyan. Marty swings the door shut on the DeLorean, then looks around the array of switches and buttons on the console with frightened bewilderment. How do you start this thing? Then he spots the keys in the ignition on the steering column, just like any other car. He turns it over and shifts into first. He floors it. The DeLorean roars off. The van gives chase. The speedometer reaches 40. The terrorist gunner lean out of the van and take aim. Marty looks into the side view mirror. Marty's POV through the side view mirror of the Libyan gunner taking aim. The speedometer climbs past 50. The gunner fires. Bullets rip into the parking lot just behind the speeding DeLorean. Marty has the pedal to the metal. Insert. The speedometer hits 70. 75. Marty again checks the side view mirror. The van is still keeping up. Marty reacts.
Let's see if you bastards can do 90.
The DeLorean continues accelerating. The van continues pursuit, but begins to lose ground. The speedometer passes 85. Marty gauges and indicator lights come up behind Marty's head, just as they did before Einstein traveled through time. The flux capacitor is about to kick in. The speedometer climbs to 86, 87, 88. The small parking lot is suddenly changed into an open field with a scarecrow in the middle of it. Marty is speeding toward it at 88 miles an hour. He hits it. The scarecrow's face is hideously smashed against the windshield. Marty can't see. He's completely disoriented. The scarecrow head falls off the DeLorean, revealing that Marty is headed toward an open barn. The DeLorean speeds right into the open barn. We hold on the barn exterior. We hear a crash. Hay and dust are kicked up out the door, then a crack of wood, and a large section of the barn roof caves in. We hold on the barn, and we hear a dog start barking. At a nearby farmhouse, a light goes on, and Farmer Pa Peabody, 45, comes out in his red flannels carrying a lantern. Behind him is his wife, Ma, their buxom 14-year-old daughter, and lively 11-year-old son, Sherman.
Buxom?
They approach the barn and cautiously enter through the rear doors. The Peabodys stare in open-mouthed astonishment. The stainless steel vehicle faces them head-on, headlight beams shining through the dust, with its wheels buried in the straw and amber hazard lights blinking. It looks like a spaceship. The cows in the barn don't seem to care much, but Ma and Pa look up at the hole where the roof caved in, then exchange an uneasy look.
What is it, Pa?
It looks like an airplane without wings. Airplane? It's a flying saucer, Pa, from outer space.
The driver's gull-wing door rises slowly, just like a hatch. Pa motions them all back. They watch expectantly, uneasily, with expressions of curiosity mixed with fear. Now Marty steps out, dazed. He's in the radiation suit, and the hood is down, giving him the appearance of an alien.
Run, children! Run for your lives!
They all run like hell out of the barn. Marty takes a few steps, then removes the hood.
Hey, hello? Where am I?
Marty looks around. The cows in the barn just chew their cud. Marty shakes his head, then steps out of the barn door. Marty steps out into the barnyard.
Excuse me? Anybody here?
Pa bursts out of the farmhouse with a double-barreled shotgun. He's scared. Sherman comes running out right behind him with something rolled up in his hand.
Shoot it, Pa! It's already mutated into human form! Shoot it!
Pa raises his shotgun. He's nervous and unsteady. He fires. Buckshot cracks into the barn wall behind Marty.
You mutated son of a bitch!
He squeezes off the second barrel. Shot explodes in the dirt near Marty's feet. He dashes back into the barn. Pa breaks the gun and reloads.
Be careful, Pa! Don't get too close or it'll take over your brain! What the hell are you talking about, boy? Read this! It's all in here!
Sherman shows him his Tales from Space comic book. On the cover is a spaceship that resembles a 50s version of the DeLorean. An alien is stepping out who looks something like Marty in the radiation suit, and he appears to have enslaved several human females. The title of the story is Space Zombies from Pluto. Pa gulps. Now the DeLorean thunders out of the barn. Pa Peabody jumps back. The car spins around in the barnyard and smashes through a white picket fence surrounding two newly planted pine trees in a line, just like on the sign at Twin Pines Mall. The DeLorean takes out one of the small trees, then finds the dirt access road and roars away.
You space bastard! You killed one of my pines!
Pa fires both barrels of the departing vehicle and blows his own mailbox to shreds. He runs over to his pine grove.
Now I only got one.
The DeLorean steers along the dirt road past an entrance sign reading Twin Pines Ranch and turns onto the main paved road. Marty is driving. He's out of breath, scared, disoriented.
Okay, Marty, get a hold of yourself. There's got to be an explanation for this. It's probably all a dream. Very, very intense dream. It's all gonna resolve itself.
Marty's foot slams on the brake. The DeLorean burns to a screeching halt. The engine dies. Marty gets out of the DeLorean and takes us to the Lion's Gates of Lion Estates, standing alone on a dirt road surrounded by colored pennants and a large sign promoting the development. The gates are brand new. We crane up, revealing empty farmland beyond. Marty is totally astonished. Now we hear the sound of an approaching car. Marty turns. A 1947 Hudson is coming down the road. Marty waves his arms at the car. A bizarre image of Marty in the yellow radiation suit next to DeLorean, POV from the Hudson. The drivers of the Hudson react with fear. He honks and speeds past Marty. Marty gulps.
Don't stop, Wilbur, drive!
It can't be.
He rushes back to the DeLorean and looks in. The time display shows present day, November 5th, 1955, 6:23 a.m. Destination time, November 5th, 1955, 6 a.m. And last time departed, October 26th, 1985, 1:35 a.m. Suddenly, the displays blank out as the car dies. The plutonium chamber gauge reads empty. Marty turns the ignition key, but the car won't start. He tries it again and again. Each time, the starter sounds worse. Finally, it completely dies. Marty hits the steering wheel in frustration.
Perfect. Just perfect.
Marty, in his regular street clothes, pushes the DeLorean behind the billboard of Lions Estates, hiding it from view of the main road. Marty takes a deep breath, then walks around the sign and down the main road. Up ahead is a mileage marker that says Hill Valley, 2 miles. And we're in Hill Valley Town Square as Marty arrives, and it's vibrant, bustling, alive. Marty is amazed at what he sees. He walks across the street, staring at the town square. He notices the movie theater is now playing Cattle Queen of Montana, starring Barbara Stanwyck and Ronald Reagan. A record store with Patti Page and Eddie Gorham albums on display. Marty walks toward the center of town square and reacts to the clock chiming 8:30. He moves along, pausing to stare at the Studebaker dealership. As he reaches the corner, he sees the travel agency promoting vacations in Cuba and the realty office advertising bomb shelters. Now he looks up and reacts to a political sound truck heading around the corner promoting Red Thomas for mayor. Marty shakes his head, then spots a discarded newspaper in the trash. He picks it up and looks at the date. The date is Saturday, November 5th, 1955. Marty now spots a woman walking toward him.
Excuse me, ma'am. Could you pinch me?
I beg your pardon.
Pinch me. Pinch me.
The woman slaps Marty across the face and walks off in a huff.
It's definitely not a dream. Thanks a lot.
Now he notices something across the street. Public telephone sign in Lou's Cafe. Marty has an idea. He runs across the street into the cafe. Inside, a typical cafe soda fountain of the period. 2 or 3 customers are at the counter. Marty stares at the signs. Coffee, 5 cents. Ice cream, 10 cents. A calendar displays the date, November 5th, 1955. Lou, the counterman, spots Marty in his orange down vest.
What'd you do, kid? Jump ship?
Huh?
What's with the life preserver?
I just want to use the phone.
In the back.
Lou points it out, a phone booth. Marty goes into the phone booth and flips through the directory. Marty's finger comes to a rest at Brown, Emmett L., parenthetical scientist, 1640 Riverside Drive, Klondike 54385. Marty smiles, just what he was hoping for.
Thank God you're still around.
Marty puts in a dime and dials the number. It rings and rings and rings. No answer. He hangs up.
Not my day.
He rips the page out and shoves it in his pocket. Marty saunters out of the phone booth and takes a seat at the counter. A nerdy-looking kid is seated nearby, sipping a soda and reading a comic book. Marty looks at Lou, indicating the address on the phone book page.
Can you tell me where 1640 Riverside...
You gonna order something, kid?
Sure. Give me a tab.
I can't give you a tab unless you order something.
Oh, let me have a Pepsi free.
Kid, if you want a Pepsi, you're gonna pay for it.
Well, just give me something to drink that doesn't have any sugar in it.
Lou gives him a look, then pours a cup of coffee in front of him. Marty looks at the bowl of sugar cubes in front of him.
You got any sweet and low?
Sweet and what? Say, kid, you'd better pay for this right now.
Okay.
Marty puts down a nickel. Marty raises his coffee cup, and just as he's about to take a sip,
Hey, McFly!
Huh?
he spins around on his stool. The voice came from a punk, 17. Behind him are 3 other punks. The lead punk is coming right toward Marty. No, he's stepping over to the nerdy kid next to him.
Oh, hi, Biff. How's it going?
Yes, the punk is Biff Tannen, age 17, and the nerdy kid is George McFly, also 17. Biff's boys buy cigarettes at the counter. They are matched, perpetually chewing a wooden matchstick, skinhead who has a crew cut just this side of being bald, and 3D. He always wears red-green 3D glasses. Marty watches the exchange between Biff and George with utter amazement.
Hi, Biff. Hi, guys.
You got my homework finished, McFly? You Irish bug?
No, I figured since it's not due till Monday.
Biff knocks on George's head.
Hello? Anybody home? Think, McFly, think! I've got to have time to recopy it. Do you realize what would happen if I turned in my homework with your handwriting in it? I'd get kicked out of school! You wouldn't want that to happen, would you? Would you?
No, Biff, of course not.
What are you looking at, butthead?
Hey, Biff, get a load of his life preserver. This dork thinks he's gonna drown. Yeah, what happened? Did you get shipwrecked? Nah, he's just getting ready for flood season.
They all laugh. Biff turns back to George.
So how about my homework, McFly?
Okay, Biff, I'll do it tonight and bring it over first thing tomorrow.
Not too early. I sleep in on Sundays. Oh, hey, McFly. Your shoe's untied.
Huh?
Biff hits him in the chin. He laughs loudly as does his cronies, and they leave. Marty, still in belief, turns to George.
I don't believe it. You're George McFly.
Uh-huh.
Your birthday's August 18th. Your mother's name is Sylvia.
Uh-huh. Who are you?
Marty doesn't know what to say. A black busboy has been sweeping up in the background and has made his way over. He looks at George. As he talks, we see he has a gold front tooth. It's Goldie Wilson, aged, I can't read.
I think it says 22.
I think, yeah, 22. Age 22.
Say, what do you let that boy push you around for?
Well, he's bigger than me.
Stand tall, boy. Have some respect for yourself. You let people walk all over you now, they'll be walking all over you for the rest of your life. Look at me. You think I'm going to be spending the rest of my life in this slop house? Watch it, Goldie. No, sir. I'm going to make something of myself. I'm going to go to night school. I'm going to be somebody.
That's right. He's going to be mayor someday.
This is an idea that's never occurred to Goldie.
Mayor. That's a good idea. I could run for mayor.
George slips out as the conversation continues.
Yeah, a colored man. That'll be the day. You wait and see, Mr. Carruthers. I'm going to be mayor. I'll be the most powerful man in Hill Valley. I'm going to clean up this town. Well, you can start by sweeping the floor. Mayor Goldie Wilson. Oh, I like the sound of that.
Now Marty notices that George has left. He sees George bicycling past the windows. Marty runs out after him.
Hey, George, wait up. I want to talk to you.
Marty looks around and sees George bicycling down the street.
George, hey, George, I want to talk to you.
But George doesn't. He disappears around a corner. Marty runs after him toward a residential street. The homes evoke a pleasant nostalgia, front porches and white picket fences. Marty comes from around the corner and sees George's bike parked underneath a tree. Marty looks around, then spots George up in the tree, precariously out on a branch overhanging the street about 12 feet up. George has a pair of binoculars trained on a second-story window in the house across the street. Marty can't figure it out. He moves closer for a better view. George focuses the binoculars. In George's POV, through the binoculars, we see a naked girl in the second-story bedroom window dressing. Marty watches in disbelief as he realizes what George is doing.
He's a peeping Tom.
George's POV is the girl moves closer to the window. George tries to move closer, but loses his balance and tumbles into the street. Marty watches as George groans, then slowly tries to get up. Now a car comes from around the corner. George doesn't see it, but Marty can see that it's going to hit George.
Dad, look out!
But George is still dazed. Marty dashes into the street and in a spectacular flying leap knocks him out of the path of the oncoming car. As Marty moves to avoid the car swerves in the same direction. There's a screech at brakes and the car hits Marty. George, never one to get involved, grabs his bike and pedals off, leaving Marty lying on the street unconscious.
Thanks, Dad.
As we dissolve to a darkened bedroom, Marty is lying in bed, lit by ambient light from a doorway. Female hands place a cold compress on the bruise on his forehead. Marty groans and stirs.
Mom, is that you?
Shh. Everything's going to be all right.
Sounds like his mother. He opens his eyes. All he can see is her silhouette.
God, what a horrible nightmare. I dreamt I went way back in time.
He starts to sit up.
Take it easy now. You've been asleep for almost 9 hours.
God, it was terrible. It was a terrible place to be. The music was awful. They didn't have Huey Lewis. Our neighborhood hadn't been built yet. Everything was so weird looking.
Well, you're safe and sound, back where you belong in good old 1955.
1955?
She turns on the bedside lamp. It's the same girl George was spying on, and Marty recognizes her just as we do.
Oh my God, you're my
My name's Lorraine. Lorraine Baines.
Marty stares at her for a long moment.
But you're so thin.
Just relax, Calvin. You've got quite a bruise on your head.
Oh, where are my pants?
Over there, on my hope chest. I've never seen purple underpants before, Calvin.
Marty covers himself up.
Calvin, why are you calling me Calvin?
Wasn't that your name? Calvin Klein, it's written on your underwear. Oh, I guess maybe people call you Cal?
No, Actually, people call me Marty.
Well, I'm pleased to meet you, Marty.
She comes over and sits on the bed right next to him. She's very interested in him.
Mind if I sit here?
No?
Marty moves as far away as he can without falling off the bed. He holds the blanket tight around his waist. She looks at him, fascinated.
That's quite a bruise there.
She gently strokes his bruised forehead and then runs her hand through his hair. Marty moves even further and falls off the bed. He covers himself with the blankets.
Yeah.
Lorraine, are you up there?
We hear footsteps coming up the stairs.
It's my mother. Quick, put your pants back on.
She throws him his pants. Stella Baines, 40 and pregnant, leads Marty and Lorraine downstairs.
So tell me, Marty, how long have you been in port?
Excuse me?
I assume you're in the Navy. Isn't that why you wear a life preserver?
No. Mac, actually, I'm in the Coast Guard.
In the living room, Sam Baines, a gruff man of 45, is fiddling with the rabbit ears on the TV set.
Sam, here's the young man you hit with your car. Thank God he's all right.
Sam gives Marty a look.
What were you doing in the middle of the street, a kid your age?
Oh, don't mind him. He's just in one of his moods. Sam, quit fiddling with that thing. It's time for dinner.
Sam ignores her as Stella leads Marty to the dining room where the other kids are.
Now, you've already met Lorraine, and that's Milton, that's Sally, and that's Toby.
Milton, 12, wears a Davy Crockett coonskin cap. Sally is 6, Toby is 4.
And next to you there in the playpen is little baby Joey.
Marty turns and looks with amazement at 11-month-old Joey rattling the bars of his playpen.
So you're my Uncle Joey. Get used to these bars, kid.
Oh, yes, little Joey loves being in his pen. He actually cries when you take him out, so we leave him in there all the time. It seems to make him happy. I hope you like meatloaf, Marty.
Listen, I really should get going.
Now, Marty, I won't take no for an answer. You sit down and you have dinner with us.
Sit here, Marty.
Lorraine beckons him to the empty seat next to hers. A plate of meatloaf is there waiting for him. It looks like the same meatloaf he had for dinner in 1985. In fact, the whole dinner is the same.
Sam, will you quit fiddling with that thing and come in here and eat?
Sam rolls in a brand new television on a plywood dolly of his own construction.
Look at this. It rolls. Now we can watch Jackie Gleason while we eat. Oh, boy.
Sam fiddles with the rabbit ears and brings in a rather muddy image of a cigarette commercial. A surgeon steps out of an operating room, lights up a cigarette, and turns to do a testimonial.
After facing the tension of doing 3 lung operations in a row, I like to relax by lighting up a Sir Randolph. I know it's fine tobacco and will soothe my nerves and improve my circulation. Look at the picture, crystal clear. Why would anybody want to go to the movies when they can see this in your own home, free?
Our first television set. Dad picked it up today. Do you have a television?
Yeah, 2 of them.
Wow, you must be rich.
Milton, he's teasing you. Nobody has 2 television sets.
The Honeymooners has resumed, the classic Man from Space episode.
Oh, hey, I've seen this one. It's a good one. The one where Ralph dresses up as a man from space.
What do you mean you've seen it? It's brand new.
Saw it on a rerun.
What's a rerun?
You'll find out.
Quiet! I want to hear this.
Marty, there's something very familiar about you. Do I know your mother?
Marty glances at Lorraine, then smiles weakly.
Yeah, I think maybe you do.
Well, I'd like to give her a call and let her know that you're all right.
Well, you can't. That is, no one's home yet. Could you tell me where Riverside Drive is?
Riverside. Sure, it's on the east side end of town. It's a block past Maple.
A block past Maple? That's John F. Kennedy Drive.
Pardon me?
It's John F. Kennedy Drive?
Who the hell is John F. Kennedy?
You don't know him.
Mother with Marty's parents out of town. Don't you think he should spend the night here? After all, Dad almost killed him with the car.
She gives him a flirtatious smile.
Marty, Lorraine is right. You must spend the night. You're our responsibility.
I don't
You can
know.
sleep in my room.
Under the table, Lorraine puts her hand on Marty's leg. Marty immediately jumps to his feet.
Oh, actually, I've really got to be going. So, thank you for everything, and I will see you all later. Much later.
He turns and hurries out of the house. Lorraine sighs romantically.
A very strange young man.
He's an idiot. He comes from upbringing. His parents are probably idiots too. Lorraine, if you ever have a kid who acts that way, I'll disown you. And that goes for all of you.
At Doc Brown's house, night. The house at 1640 Riverside Drive is huge, beautiful. Marty checks the address against the phone book page. It matches. He recognizes the garage as the same one we saw in 1985, except in much better shape. In 1985, the house had been torn down and a fast food stand put up. Marty rushes to the front door of the house. He pounds on the door knocker. We hear a barking dog from within. Then young Dr. Brown opens the door. He's wearing an outrageous contraption on his head, a bizarre conglomeration of vacuum tubes, rheostats, gauges, wiring, and antennas. But there can be no doubt that this is the same Doc Brown, some 30 years younger. Beside him is another dog. Marty stares at Brown's weird headgear. Brown yanks him inside.
Don't say a word! Quiet, Copernicus. Down, boy.
Brown attaches a suction cup to Marty's forehead, which is connected to a wire into Brown's contraption.
Dr. Brown, I really...
No, don't tell me anything. I'm going to read your thoughts.
Marty indulges him. Brown flips a switch on his brainwave analyzer. Tubes hum to life and sparks jump from antenna to antenna. Brown concentrates as if he's picking up brainwaves.
Let's see now. You've come here from a great distance.
Marty nods, wondering if maybe the thing does work.
Because you want me to buy a subscription to Saturday Evening Post.
No.
No, don't tell me. Donations! You're collecting donations for the Coast Guard Youth Auxiliary.
No.
Are you here because you want to use the bathroom?
Dr. Brown, listen. I'm from the future. I came here in a time machine that you invented, and now I desperately need you to help me get back to the year 1985.
Brown stares at him in utter amazement for a moment.
My God. Do you know what this means?
He pauses dramatically, then removes the contraption from his head.
That means that this damn thing doesn't work at all! 6 months of labor for nothing. Where did I go wrong?
God, Doc Brown, you gotta help me. You're the only one in the world who knows how your time machine works.
Brown knits his brow and rubs a bandage on his forehead.
Time machine. Yeah. I haven't invented a time machine.
You will? Look, I'll prove it to you. Look, here's my driver's license. Expires 1987. See my birthday? I haven't even been born yet. Here's a picture of me, my sister, and my brother. Look at her sweatshirt. It says class of 84.
Brown looks the items over.
Yeah, it's pretty mediocre for photographic fakery there. They cut off your brother's head.
Please, Doc, you gotta believe me. I'm telling the truth.
Wait, then tell me, future boy, who's the president of the United States in 1985?
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan. The actor!
Marty nods. Brown rolls his eyes.
And who's the vice president? Jerry Lewis? Oh, that's the most insane thing I've ever heard.
Brown picks up the brainwave analyzer blueprints and rushes out the back door. A beat, and then Marty runs after him. Outside, Brown runs across the lawn towards the garage with the brainwave analyzer blueprints in hand. Marty chases after him. Brown's Packard is parked in the driveway.
I suppose Jane Wyman is the first lady and Jack Benny is the secretary of the treasury.
At the garage door, Brown runs up and opens it. Marty comes up behind him.
Please, Doc, listen to me.
Brown turns around and faces him.
I've had enough of your practical jokes for the evening. Good night, future boy.
Brown slams the door in his face. We hear it lock. Marty stands there for a moment, then gets an idea. He yells at the closed door.
Dr. Brown, the bruise on your head. I know how you got it. It happened this morning. You fell off your toilet, you hit your head on the sink, and then you came up with the idea for the flux capacitor, which is the heart of the time machine.
After a moment, we hear the door unlock. Brown opens the door, looks at Marty with new interest, and rubs his bandaged head.
Doc, how else could I know that unless I was from the future?
Take me to this time machine.
Back at the Lions Gates billboard, Marty and Marty and Doc climb out of Doc's Packard with flashlights. Marty leads Doc toward the hidden DeLorean.
There's something wrong with the starter, so I hid it back here.
The abandoned DeLorean is suddenly illuminated by approaching flashlight beams. Brown gasps upon seeing the vehicle. He looks it over with amazement. Now he pulls a folded paper out of his pocket.
Hello. After I fell off my toilet, I drew this.
It's a sketch of the flux capacitor. Marty raises the gull wing door and points out the real thing. Brown stares. It matches his drawing perfectly. His eyes light up and he jumps and shouts with joy.
Ah, it works! It works! I finally invent something that works. Let's get this thing back to my laboratory. We've got to get you home!
Back at Brown's garage, the DeLorean is now inside. Marty is hooking the video camera to a TV set while Brown is examining the contents of the 1985 suitcase.
So these are my personal belongings in here, huh?
He pulls out a portable hairdryer.
What's this thing?
The hairdryer?
A hairdryer. And don't they have towels in the future? and this underwear, it's all made of cotton. I thought by sure we'd all be wearing disposable paper garments by 1985.
He pulls out a Playboy magazine.
And what's this?
Brown leafs through it and opens up the centerfold.
Hey, suddenly the future's looking a whole lot better.
Okay, Doc, take a look at this.
Brown steps over and Marty rolls the videotape he shot at the mall parking lot, in which Brown is explaining the operation of the time machine. Brown is amazed to see himself as an old man.
Hey, that's me! Look at me, I'm an old man! I'll say I don't look half bad for an old geezer. Thank God I've still got my hair. Baldness runs in my family, you know, but what on earth am I wearing?
A radiation suit.
Of course, because of all the fallout from the atomic wars. Oh, this is truly amazing. A portable television studio. No wonder your president has to be an actor. He's got to look good on television.
Yeah, watch this. This is the part coming up.
The part of the tape comes up about the plutonium. We see the image of the plutonium container with old Doc Brown next to it.
Plutonium? You mean this sucker's nuclear?
Electrical. But I need a nuclear reaction to generate the 1.21 gigawatts of electricity I need.
Angle including Marty and Brown.
What did I just say?
Marty rewinds it a bit and replays it.
I need a nuclear reaction to generate the 1.21 gigawatts of electricity I need.
Brown is shocked.
1.21 gigawatt! 1.21 gigawatts! Great Scott.
Brown runs like hell out of there. Marty doesn't understand why.
Doc? Hey, Doc!
Doc Brown runs out of the garage and over to the house. A beat, then Marty follows. Marty makes his way into the house through the back door. He hears Brown talking to someone in the next room. He cautiously approaches. Brown is seated in a chair.
How could I be so careless? 1.21 gigawatts. Tom, how am I going to generate that kind of power? It can't be done, can it?
Brown is talking to a portrait of Thomas Edison.
Plutonium, Doc, all we need is plutonium.
Oh, I'm sure that in 1985, plutonium is readily available in any corner drugstore, but in 1955, it's a little hard to come by. Marty, I'm afraid you're stuck here.
I can't be stuck here. Don't you understand, Doc? I have a life. In 1985, I gotta get back. My girlfriend's waiting for me. Look, here she is.
Marty pulls out his wallet and shows Brown a picture of Jennifer Parker.
Yeah, see, she's not bad.
Not bad. Yeah, she's great. And she's crazy about me. See this? See what she wrote here? It's poetry.
He has pulled out the clock tower flyer on which Jennifer has written, "I love you." Brown looks at it.
Doc, you're my only hope. I know you can figure something out. You've never let me down in the past.
You mean the future?
Right. And you've always told me that if you can put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
I said that? Yeah, that's pretty good advice. I'm sorry, Marty, but 1.21 gigawatts is just too much power. Do you realize how much power that is? The only power source capable of triggering that kind of energy is a bolt of lightning.
What did you just say?
A bolt of lightning. Unfortunately, you never know when or where lightning is going to strike.
We do now.
Marty turns over the note Jennifer wrote. It's the clock tower flyer. He shows it to Brown. The headline is Clock Tower Struck by a Lightning. Clock stopped at 10:04. The date is Sunday, November 13th, 1955. Brown snaps his fingers. He's getting an idea.
Oh, this is it. This is the answer. Oh, according to this, lightning is going to strike the clock tower at precisely 10:04 p.m. next Saturday night. If we could somehow harness this lightning, channel it into the flux capacitor, it might just work. What do you think of that, Ben? Honest nightmare. If you could do it, so can I. It's brilliant! Next Saturday night, we're sending you back to the future.
Marty is delighted.
Next Saturday night. You know, spending a week in 1955 won't be so bad. You can show me around, Doc.
Oh, that's completely out of the question. Marty, you must stay in this house. You can't see anybody or talk to anybody. Anything you do could have serious repercussions on future events. Do you understand?
Sure.
Marty, who else did you interact with today besides me?
Well, nobody. You know, nobody really. I just sort of bumped into my parents.
Oh, great Scott! Let me see that picture again of your brother.
Brown takes Marty's wallet and looks at the picture. His expression becomes grim.
What's the problem?
It's happened. This proves my theory. Look at your brother.
Brown shows it to him. Marty's brother, David, has no head.
His head's gone. It's like it's been erased.
Erased from existence.
And we're the next day at Brown's garage. Marty steps in front of a mirror, dressed in his underwear. His hair is slicked down in a proper conservative 50s style. As they talk, Brown hands Marty one article of 1955 clothing at a time. The tags are still on the clothes, and the boxes the clothes came in are scattered around.
I don't know, Doc. This sounds really heavy.
Weight has nothing to do with it. It's a simple genetic mathematical extrapolation. It was your father who was supposed to get hit by that car, not you. Thus, you interfered in your parents' first meeting. If they don't meet, they won't fall in love. They won't get married. If they don't get married, they won't have any kids. That's why your brother's disappearing from that photograph. He's first. Since he's the oldest, your sister will follow, and unless you can repair the damage, you'll be next.
Well, why do I got to go to school?
You're a kid. Kids go to school. Your parents are kids. They go to school. You interfered in your parents' relationship. Therefore, you have to go to school to fix it.
Marty is now fully dressed in 1955 style clothes. He looks at himself, touches his hair, and shakes his head.
Well, if I'm going to wear a disguise, at least I'm going to look like Elvis.
Marty starts combing his hair Elvis style.
Elvis. What's Elvis?
You'll find out.
At Hill Valley High School Day, it pretty much looks the same in 1955, but with no graffiti. There is not much activity in front. School is in session. Doc and Marty approach the school entrance. Marty is dressed in his 1955 garb with his hair slicked back. Marty notices how much cleaner the school looks.
Wow, they really cleaned this place up. It looks brand new.
Remember now, according to my theory, all you have to do is introduce them to each other and nature will take its course. I hope.
They go inside. Marty and Doc Brown are watching a classroom from the hall.
That's her in the second row.
Ah, yes. Yes, I see the resemblance.
Oh my God, she's cheating.
Lorraine is copying an answer from the boy sitting next to her. The school bell rings in the hall. It's passing period. Another classroom door opens and students head out for the next class. George McFly is one of them. His shirt tail is out. His hair is poorly combed and papers are practically falling out of his ring binder. Marty and Doc watch from down the hall.
So, which one's your father?
That's him.
As George walks down the hall, students laugh at him behind his back, and some of the boys kick him in the ass. A kid named Dixon takes particular glee in kicking George. George turns. He has a kick me sign hooked on his collar. Doc shakes his head at this pathetic sight.
Maybe you're adopted?
Now a hand yanks George by the arm. Mr. Strickland, and he looks exactly the same. Marty is amazed.
McFly, shape up, man.
He pulls the sign off George's shirt and shows it to him.
You're a slacker. You want to be a slacker for the rest of your life?
George shakes his head unconvincingly. Marty can't believe what he's seeing.
It's Strickland. He looks exactly the same.
They watch a moment more.
Looks like a match made in heaven.
My mom always said it was meant to be. I sure hope she's right.
Marty takes a deep breath and starts walking toward George.
George, hey, buddy, you're just the guy I wanted to see. You remember me? I saved your life.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, there's somebody I want you to meet. Come here.
He pulls him down the hall, around the corner where Lorraine is at her locker with Betty and Babs.
Excuse me, Lorraine.
Lorraine turns and reacts with delight.
Calvin. Oh, I mean Marty.
Lorraine, there's somebody I want you to meet. This is my good friend, George McFly. George, this is Lorraine.
Hi. It's really a pleasure to meet you.
Lorraine doesn't pay George the slightest bit of attention. She only has eyes for Marty.
Oh, Marty, I was so worried about you running off like that the other night with that bruise on your head. Is it all right?
Yeah.
Bell rings.
Oh, I'm late. See you later.
She hurries off down the hall with her girlfriends. They pass by Doc.
Isn't he a dream?
George has run off in the opposite direction. Marty stands in the middle of the hall, completely bewildered. Doc joins him.
She didn't even look at him.
This is more serious than I thought. Apparently, your mother is amorously infatuated with you instead of your father.
You trying to tell me that my mother's got the hots for me?
At the risk of sounding crude, yes.
Jeez, Doc, that's pretty heavy.
Where's that word again? Heavy. Why are things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull?
What?
Brown snaps his fingers. He's got a new idea.
The only way those two are going to successfully mate is if they're alone together. So you've got to arrange to get your father and mother to interact in some sort of social...
Brown can't think of the word.
You mean a date?
Right.
What kind of date? I don't know what kids do in the 50s.
They're your parents. You must know them. What are their common interests? What do they like to do together?
Marty thinks a moment.
Nothing.
Doc notices a hand-painted banner in the hall announcing the Enchantment Under the Sea dance this Saturday night.
Look, there's a rhythmic ceremonial ritual coming up.
Marty sees the sign and has a revelation.
That's right. The Enchantment Under the Sea dance. They're supposed to go to that dance. That's where they kiss for the first time.
All right, kid. You stick to your pup like glue and make sure he takes her to that dance.
And we're in the school cafeteria later. George is seated at a table having lunch and writing furiously. He has a copy of Amazing Stories science fiction magazine with his books. Marty comes over and sits down across from him.
Hey, George. Remember that girl I introduced you to, Lorraine? What are you writing, George?
Oh, it's a science fiction story about visitors from other planets coming to Earth.
I never knew you did anything creative. Can I read it?
Oh, no. I never let anybody read my stories.
Why not?
Well, what if they didn't like them? What if they told me I was no good?
Marty is having a bad case of deja vu.
This must be pretty hard for you to understand, huh?
No, George, it's not that hard at all.
There's a long moment as Marty looks at George in a new light and sees himself.
Listen, George, about Lorraine, she really likes you. And she wanted me to tell you that she'd really like you to take her to the Enchantment Under the Sea dance.
Really?
Yep. All you gotta do is go right over there and ask her.
Marty points out where she's sitting.
Now? Right here in the cafeteria? What if she says no? I couldn't take that kind of rejection.
Marty is starting to get exasperated.
George, I'm telling you, if you don't ask Lorraine to that dance, I'm gonna regret it for the rest of my life.
Well, I've just got a feeling that she'd rather go with somebody else.
Ooh.
Biff?
Marty looks and reacts with horror. At another table, Biff is trying to put his hands on Lorraine. She's trying to push him away.
Get your paws off me, Biff. Leave me alone.
Come on, Lorraine. You want it. You know you want it, and you know you want me to give it to you.
Oh, shut your filthy mouth. I'm not that kind of girl.
you are and you just don't know it yet.
Get your meat hooks off of me.
But Biff persists.
She said to get your hands off her.
Biff turns to find himself facing Marty.
What's it to you, butthead? You know, you've been looking for...
Mr. Strickland approaches behind Marty. Biff sees him and plays it cool.
Since you're new here, twerp, I'm cutting you a break today. So why don't you just make like a tree and get out of here?
Biff walks off. Lorraine looks at Marty and sighs with infatuation.
Oh, Marty, that was wonderful. Thank you.
Strickland puts his hand on Marty's shoulder.
Young man, let me give you a nickel's worth of free advice. Don't slack off in my school.
At the exterior street in McFly house, day. Marty is walking along the tree-lined street with George on his way home from school.
George, come on, man. I'm telling you, if you don't take Lorraine to the dance, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life.
I can't go. I'll miss my favorite television program, science fiction theater.
Come on, George. Lorraine really wants to go out with you. She's looking forward to it. You wouldn't want to disappoint her, would you?
You're now in front of George's house.
Look, I'm just not ready to ask Lorraine out, and not you or anybody else on this planet is going to make me change my mind.
George storms into his house, leaving Marty speechless. Marty takes out the family snapshot and looks at it. All that's left of Dave are his feet. Marty gulps. Now the paper boy bicycles past and throws the evening paper onto the McFly lawn beside Marty. Marty has a look at the open front page. The newspaper headline reads, "Farmer sees flying saucer. Otis Peabody under observation at county asylum." A photo shows Farmer Peabody in a straitjacket. Marty smiles. He's getting an idea. George's house, night. All is quiet. The house is dark. Close on a clock on the nightstand in George's room. It's almost 1:30. We pan over to George's face. He's sleeping soundly in bed. Now a pair of gloved hands place featherweight headphones on George's ears. George doesn't stir. The same hands now inserted cassette tape labeled Edward Van Halen into a Walkman. A finger dials the volume level to 10, then presses play. George awakens screaming. He opens his eyes and reacts in further terror when he sees a frightening yellow monster, Marty, in full radiation suit at the foot of his bed. Marty turns off the music. When he talks, his voice is distorted through the mouth filter in the hood. An open window indicates how Marty got in.
Silence, Earthling. My name is Darth Vader. I am an extraterrestrial from the planet Vulcan.
Yeah.
Dreaming.
This is no dream. You are having a close encounter of the third kind. You have reached the outer limits of the Twilight Zone.
Mom? Dad?
George throws off the covers, but Marty pulls the portable hairdryer from Brown's suitcase out of his belt like a gun. He fires a blast of heat at George.
Silence! My heat ray will vaporize you if you do not obey me.
George raises his hands in surrender.
All right, I surrender. Turn it off.
Marty lowers it. Now his digital watch alarm begins beeping. Marty raises his wrist as if it were a radio.
Silence! I am receiving a transmission from the Battlestar Galactica. You, George McFly, have created a rift in the space-time continuum. The Supreme Klingon hereby commands you to take the female Earth person called Baines, Lorraine, to the location known to you as Hill Valley High School, exactly 4 Earth cycles from now. Saturday night in your language.
You mean take Lorraine to the dance?
Affirmative.
But I don't know if I'll be able to.
Marty turns on the Walkman again. George screams.
Turn it off, please turn it off.
Marty turns it off.
Earthling, do you wish me to melt your brain?
No, please. I'm sorry, I'll do it. I'll take her to the dance. Please don't turn that noise on again.
Very good, Earthling. You will tell no one of this visit. Now close your eyes and see me no more.
Okay.
George closes his eyes. Marty holds a vial under George's nose and George passes out. Marty removes the featherweight headphones from George's head, takes off his hood, and goes back out the window. Marty climbs down a trellis and jumps down into Doc Brown's waiting Packard convertible.
How'd it go?
Great. That chloroform sure put him out. I hope he didn't overdo it.
The next day on the town square, Marty is loitering in the grass in the grass. Now George comes running up from the street. He's disheveled and wild-eyed. George runs frantically through the town square, then spots Marty at the Pepsi machine at the Texaco station.
Marty!
Marty is trying to twist off the bottle cap. Of course he can't.
George, you weren't at school. Where you been all day?
I just woke up. I overslept. Look, you've got to help me. I want to ask Lorraine to the dance, but I don't know how to do it.
All right. Keep your pants on. She's over there in the cafe. How do you open this thing?
George takes the Pepsi bottle from him and opens it with the church key on top of the machine. Marty and George walk past the record store toward Lou's.
So, George, what made you change your mind?
Last night, Darth Vader came down from the planet Vulcan and told me if I didn't take Lorraine out, he'd melt my brain.
George, why don't we keep this brain melting stuff between you and me, okay? Look, there she is.
Through the window of Lou's, we see Lorraine seated with two girlfriends, Betty and Babs, in a booth, sipping ice cream sodas and talking.
It's simple, George. You just go in and invite her.
All right. But what do I say?
Say whatever feels natural, whatever comes to mind.
George thinks about this a moment, then shrugs.
Nothing's coming to mind.
Christ, it's a miracle I was even born.
Huh?
Nothing. Just tell her her destiny has brought you to her and you think she's the most beautiful girl you ever seen. Girls like that kind of stuff. What are you doing, George?
George is taking out a pencil and paper and is writing.
I'm writing it down. This is good stuff.
Inside the cafe, the place is really jumping. It's full of kids. A jukebox is playing. Marty enters with George.
There she is. Just go and ask her.
Marty points George in the right direction and sneaks back outside to watch. George looks at his script and mouths the words to himself. He gets up his nerve and approaches Lorraine, then chickens out and steps up to Lou at the counter.
Give me a milk. Chocolate.
Lou serves him a glass. George takes a slug. Now, with a brown mustache, he approaches Lorraine. Despite his awkwardness and fear, there's something endearing about him, like a lost dog.
Oh, Lorraine, my density has brought me to you.
Marty cautiously enters to watch, keeping himself out of view.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, what I meant to say is,
Haven't I seen you somewhere?
Yes, I'm George McFly. I'm your density, your destiny.
Lorraine giggles with her girlfriends. We hear the sound of a door being thrown open and a familiar voice calls to George.
McFly, I thought I told you never to come in here.
George turns and sees Biff and his gang standing there. He shudders. Marty drops his head in his hands and sighs.
Well, it's gonna cost you, McFly. How much money you got on you?
How much do you want, Biff?
As Biff starts to walk toward George, Marty sticks out his leg and trips him. Everyone in the malt shop laughs, but Biff doesn't think it's very funny. Now Biff sees who tripped him.
You! All right, wise ass. It's fat lip time.
Marty jumps off his stool, ready for action. Biff throws a punch, which Marty easily avoids. Then Marty delivers a left jab to Biff's gut and slams a right into his face, sending Biff reeling backward into a table. Match 3D and Skinhead rush Marty. Marty doesn't like the odds. He bolts out. The three guys pull Biff to his feet, and they all run out after Marty.
That's Calvin Klein. Oh, God, he's such a dreamboat.
Marty dashes into the street, followed by Biff and the boys. Most of the kids in the cafe hurry outside to watch, including Lorraine and her friends. Marty looks behind him. Biff and company are gaining. One of the kids on a scooter comes by, Thinking quickly, Marty yanks the scooter out from under him, kicks off the orange crate, and creates a homemade skateboard. Marty hops on it and sails off down the sidewalk. Biff and the boys have never seen anything like it, nor has the kid whose scooter it was. Everyone stares at Marty whizzing down the sidewalk.
Wow, look at him go. Wow. What is that thing?
In the car.
Biff and the gang jump into Biff's convertible parked nearby. Biff peels out after Marty. Marty looks over his shoulder and sees the convertible closing in. He cuts a sharp turn into the street, crossing right in front of Biff's car, and heads back in the opposite direction. Biff and the boys are stunned. Another car comes up behind Marty. As it passes, Marty grabs onto the back and hooks a ride. Biff cuts a U-turn. Marty, towed by the car, zooms past the cafe. The spectators are truly amazed. Lorraine stares in open-mouthed awe.
Sure, yeah.
He's an absolute dream.
Biff's convertible continues the pursuit. The car towing Marty turns right and heads up the street toward the courthouse. Biff screeches around the corner and speeds after him. Marty looks over his shoulder. Biff is closing in. The tow car is approaching the courthouse. Biff is moving right into Marty's ass. And suddenly Marty lets go of the car and cuts right turn onto the sidewalk in front of the courthouse. Biff is going too fast. He overshoots it. Marty freewheels down the sidewalk around startling pedestrians. Biff backs up, shifts into first, cuts right, and roars right down the sidewalk after Marty. Pedestrians dive out of the way onto the square or up the courthouse steps. Marty reaches the intersecting street, and Biff is ready to nail him. As Marty makes his turn, Biff cuts over. Marty does a quick 180 on his board and ends up holding the front end of Biff's convertible. Biff's car pushes Marty backward down the street. Biff smiles sadistically at Marty. Marty gulps. He has no choice but to hang on. Biff jerks the wheel back and forth, weaving, trying to knock Marty off. Marty hangs on, weaving with him. Marty looks over his shoulder. Ahead in the same traffic lane is an open manure truck. Biff's boys exchange looks.
Match! Knock him off over there.
Match picks up a beer bottle and gets ready to throw it. Marty looks around. He doesn't know what to do. In Biff's car, Match stands ready to let fly. In an amazing maneuver, Marty leaps up, sending the board forward under the car and lands on the hood of Biff's car. Marty jumps over the windshield, bounds over the seat, onto the rear deck, and off the car just in time to catch his skateboard as the car passes over it. Biff and his boys are stunned. They turn their heads in disbelief to watch Marty. Marty skateboards away from Biff. We hear an off-screen crash. Marty turns. Biff's car has upended against the rear of the manure truck. Now the car falls back down, revealing that Biff and his boys have been thrown into the manure. Marty smiles. Biff shakes his fist.
I'm gonna get you, you son of a bitch!
The truck continues along, taking Biff and his gang away. Marty watches a moment, then spots the kid whose scooter he swiped along with his friend. The two have witnessed the entire thing.
Thanks a lot, kid.
Marty hops off the board and sends it back to the kid. Marty takes off down the street. The kid immediately tries out his new skateboard, and the friends kick off his orange crate and make his scooter into a skateboard too. In Brown's garage later, the service door opens from outside and Marty steps in. He notices that Brown is absorbed in the TV as he fiddles with the video camera. On the TV, the end of the tape is coming up. Old Brown is reacting to the terrorists.
Oh no, they found me. I don't know how, but they found me. Run for it, Marty!
The tape ends abruptly. Marty reacts with pain, remembering what followed. He clears his throat. Brown turns around in surprise, like he's been caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
Oh, hi, Marty. I didn't hear you come in. Fascinating device, this video unit.
Doc, there's something I haven't told you about what happened. On the night we made that tape?
Please, Marty, don't tell me. No man should know too much about his own destiny.
Doc, you don't understand.
Oh, I do understand, and if I know too much about the future, I could endanger my own existence just like you've endangered yours.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Now, let me show you my plan for sending you home.
Brown takes him over to a tabletop model of Hill Valley Town Square, which Brown has constructed himself. A wire runs from the top of the clock tower between two lampposts across the street.
Now, forgive me, I didn't have time to build it to scale or to paint it. Now, we have to run industrial strength electrical wire from the top of the clock tower, suspending it across the street between two lampposts. Meanwhile, we've outfitted the time vehicle with a big pole and hook, which connects right to the flux capacitor.
Oh my God.
Doug indicates a wind-up toy car with a wire sticking straight up from the back and a hook on the top of it. There's a similar rig on the real DeLorean visible in the background.
Now, at the calculated moment, you'll take off from down the street, driving right towards the cable, accelerating to 88. Lightning will strike the clock tower, electrifying the cable just as the cars... where am I? Lightning will strike the clock tower, electrifying the cable just as the car's connecting hook makes contact, thereby sending 1.21 gigawatts into the flux capacitor and sending you back to 1985. Now let me demonstrate. You release the car and I'll simulate the lightning.
Marty winds up the toy car and releases it toward the cable. Brown touches a live wire to the top of the clock tower. The toy car's antenna snags the cable, sparks fly, and the toy car catches fire. It flies off the table into some drapes, and they catch fire as well. Doc grabs a fire extinguisher and puts everything out. Marty shakes his head.
You're still in me with a lot of confidence here, Doc.
Don't worry, I'll take care of the lightning. You just take care of your pop. Let's say, what happened today? Did he ask her out?
I think so.
What was her answer?
There's a knock at the door. Doc and Marty exchange a look, and then Doc glances out the window.
It's your mother! She's tracked you down! Quick, let's cover the time machine.
They pull a tarp over the DeLorean. Now Marty opens the service door. Lorraine steps in.
Hi, Marty.
Mom, Lorraine, how did you find me here?
I followed you.
Oh, this is my uncle, Aunt Brown. I don't know.
Hi. Marty, this may seem a little forward, but I was hoping you might take me to the Enchantment Under the Sea dance on Saturday.
Me? What about George McFly? Didn't he ask you out?
Yeah, but I turned him down.
You did what?
Well, George isn't exactly my type. He's sort of cute and all, but he's, well, I think a man should be strong so he can stand up for himself and protect the woman that he loves. Don't you?
She moves closer. Marty gulps. This is really getting out of hand. In George's backyard, George seems very bewildered about what Marty has been trying to explain to him.
I still don't understand. How can I go to the dance with her if she's going with you?
She wants to go with you, George. She just doesn't know it yet. That's why we got to make you look like a fighter, somebody who will stand up for himself, somebody who will protect her.
I've never picked a fight in my life.
You're not picking a fight, Daddy-o. You're coming to a rescue. We better go over the plan again. Where are you going to be at 8:55?
At the dance.
Where am I going to be?
In the parking lot with her.
Okay, so right around 9, she's going to get very angry with me.
Why?
Why what?
Why is she going to get angry with you?
Well, because, nice girls get angry at guys who try to take advantage of them.
You mean you're going to touch her on her...
George, it's just going to be an act. Don't worry about it. Just remember, at 9 o'clock, you'll be strolling through the parking lot and you'll see us struggling in the car and you'll run over and open the door and say...
George doesn't say anything.
You're lying, George.
Hey, you, get your damn hands off her. You really think I should swear?
Yes, definitely. George, swear. Then you hit me in the stomach, I go down for the count, and you and Lorraine live happily ever after.
You make it sound so easy. I wish I wasn't so scared.
There's nothing to be scared of. All it takes is a little self-confidence. You can do it, George. If you put your mind to it, you can do anything. Now, Give me a shot. Right here.
Marty indicates that George should punch him in the stomach. George takes a deep breath and throws a flimsy punch into Marty's gut.
No. George, put some confidence behind that punch. Some emotion, some anger. You can do it.
George tries to get himself angry. He makes some faces and throws another punch. It's not much better.
Anger, George, anger.
Maybe if I used my left.
No, George, just give me some anger. You can do it.
George throws another punch. This one is slightly better than the last one.
That was good. She'll believe that.
Marty isn't so sure.
I'll tell you what, George, why don't you practice on this?
He hands him the
I hang
duffel
up the
bag
duffel
on the t-shirt bar of the clothesline.
And I'll check up on you later. Just remember to concentrate on the anger.
Marty walks off, leaving George with the body bag. He stares at it, trying to make himself mad.
Anger.
He hits it. He hits it again. Harder, again, harder, again. He hits the tree. George howls in pain.
Yeah! God damn it!
He's really angry now, and he socks the bag with his left and knocks it clear off the pole and through a window. George is astonished. Then, realizing the possible consequences, he runs away. That night, at the town square clock tower, we hear a radio weather forecast as the camera takes us from the lightning rod atop the clock tower along the cable strung down across the square to the street where Brown's Packard is parked nearby. The weather report emanates from the car radio. Doc is on a ladder. He's connecting the paddle plug and end of the clock tower cable to the socket on an extension cable tied around a lamppost. The DeLorean is nearby, covered with a tarp. Marty arrives, dressed up for the dance.
Area weather on this Saturday night, mostly clear with some scattered clouds.
Brown reacts to the weather report.
Are you sure about this storm?
Doc, since when can a weatherman predict the weather, let alone the future?
Brown smiles. He plugs in the cables and then descends the ladder.
Right. You know, Marty, I'm going to be sad to see you go. You've really made a difference in my life. You've given me something to shoot for, just knowing that I'm going to live to see 1985, that I'll succeed in this, that I'll get a chance to travel through time. Well, it's just going to be hard for me to wait 30 years before we can talk about everything that's happened in the past few days, and I'm really going to miss you.
Marty is particularly uncomfortable, knowing the fate of Doc.
Yeah. Doc, about the future.
No, Marty, we've already agreed that having knowledge of the future can be extremely dangerous. Even if your intentions are good, it could backfire drastically. Whatever it is you want to tell me, I'll find out through the natural course of time.
This is not what Marty wanted to hear, but he can see there's no arguing with Brown.
Yeah. Listen, I'm gonna get a candy bar or something. You want anything?
No thanks.
In a cafe, we are on a letter as a hand with a pen writes. Marty is sitting at a booth writing. He reads it over.
Dr. Brown, on October 26, 1985, at about 1:30 a.m., you will be shot by terrorists. Please take whatever precautions are necessary to prevent this terrible disaster. Your friend, Marty. November 12th, 1955.
Satisfied, Marty folds the letter, puts it in an envelope, and writes something on it. On the envelope, he has written, Doc Brown, do not open until October 1st, 1985. Back on the street, Doc is on the ladder, stringing electrical cable across the street between the two lampposts. Marty returns with a candy bar. Brown's trench coat is laying on the tarped DeLorean. Making sure that Brown isn't watching, Marty surreptitiously places the envelope into a pocket. Now a cop meanders over and watches.
Evening, Dr. Brown. What's with the wire?
Oh, I'm just doing a little weather experiment.
What's under here?
Oh, some new specialized weather sensing equipment.
Brown comes down from the ladder.
You got a permit for this?
Of course I do. Right here.
He takes out his wallet and gives the cop a $20 bill.
Nice.
You're not going to be setting anything on fire this time, are you, Dr. Brown?
Brown looks to Marty for guidance. Marty shakes his head.
No.
And we are at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, and it's well underway. On stage, the band, Marvin, Berry, and the Midnighters. They're all black. Marvin plays lead guitar and sings. There is also a drummer, piano player, sax, and bass. They're playing 3 Coins in the Fountain. The gym has been decorated in an undersea motif, seaweed fish on the walls, a papier-mâché sunken ship, treasure chest, and a single school locker labeled J.V. Jones. There is also a bubble machine, a la Lawrence Welk. As usual, at school dances, there are teachers acting as chaperones, including Mr. Strickland, a busy refreshment table, including a cake in the shape of a fish, and wallflowers on the sidelines. George is one of those wallflowers, bopping out of the time to the music. He's quite nervous. In the parking lot, Doc's Packard pulls into the lot and parks. Marty is at the wheel and is very uneasy. Lorraine next to him looks beautiful in her best party dress. Marty glances at the clock on the dashboard. It's 8 minutes before 9.
You don't mind if we park for a few minutes?
It's a great idea. I'd love to park.
Huh?
Marty, I'm almost 18 years old. It's not like I've never parked before.
What?
She scoots over very close to him. Marty fidgets. Boy, is he nervous.
You seem nervous, Marty. Is anything wrong?
No.
She pulls a pint bottle of slow gin out of her purse. Marty is shocked.
What are you doing with that?
Swiped it from the old lady's liquor cabinet.
She takes a nip.
Lorraine, you shouldn't drink.
Why not?
Well, you might regret it later on in life.
Don't be so square, Marty. Everybody who's anybody does it.
Maybe I could use a hit.
He takes the bottle. Just as he takes a swig, she pulls out a pack of cigarettes and lights up. Marty spits out the gin in surprise.
Jesus, you smoke too?
No, Marty, you're not going to tell me that smoking is unhealthy. Everyone knows that it calms your nerves and it's good for the circulation.
It's gonna give you cancer. Look, it says so right here.
Marty takes the pack and looks at the side panel. It says, this fine tobacco blend calms the nerves and improves the circulation. Marty gives it back.
You know, you sound just like my mother. When I have kids, I'm going to let them do anything they want. Anything.
I'd sure like to have that in writing.
The comment goes right past Lorraine.
So what are your parents like?
Lorraine, lately, I've come to the conclusion that I don't know anything about him.
Inside the dance, Marvin, Moon, and the Starlighters finish up a number. Everyone applauds. Marvin steps up to the microphone.
We're going to take a break now, but we'll be right back in just a little while, so don't go away.
The band members leave their instruments on the stage and head out a side door. George now glances at the clock in the gym. It says 8:59. Alarmed, he checks his own watch. It reads 8:55. George is even more alarmed. He runs over to a nearby student.
What time do you have?
5 after 9?
George is panic-stricken. He runs like hell out of the gym. Let's see. School hall. George runs into a phone booth and dials a number. It rings and a woman answers.
At the tone, the time will be 9 o'clock exactly.
A kid named Dixon sticks a broom through the phone booth door handle. George tries to get out, but he's trapped. Dixon laughs loudly. George jerks the door frantically, and Dixon just laughs louder. Inside the Packard, Marty fidgets and looks at the clock again.
Marty, why are you so nervous?
He takes a deep breath.
Well, have you ever been in a situation where, well, you don't know, you know you have to act a certain way, but if you get there, you don't know if you can actually go through with it?
You mean like how you're supposed to act with someone on a first date?
Well, sort of.
I think I know exactly what you mean.
You do?
And you know what I do in those situations?
Marty looks at her.
I don't worry about it.
And with that, she throws herself on him, kissing him passionately. Marty is absolutely shocked.
Yeah.
Lorraine abruptly stops and pushes him away. She's very confused.
This isn't right. I don't know what it is, but when I kiss you, something's wrong. It almost feels like I was kissing my brother. I guess that doesn't make any sense, does it?
Believe me, it makes perfect sense.
We hear the sounds of approaching footsteps on gravel.
I think someone's coming.
Marty hears it too. He looks at the dashboard clock, 9. He sighs with the defeat.
Yeah, I know.
Suddenly, the driver's door is open, an arm reaches in, yanks Marty out, and Marty finds himself face to face with Biff. Match, 3D, and Skinhead are with him.
You caused $300 in damage to my car, you son of a bitch. I'm gonna take it out of your ass. Hold him, guys.
Biff shoves him roughly into the arms of Skinhead. Marty struggles, but Skinhead and Match grab him and restrain him.
Let go of him. Leave him alone, Biff. You're drunk.
Biff takes a look at Lorraine in the car.
Well, looky what we have here. Maybe I'll take it out of your ass.
She climbs at her door to escape, but Biff grabs her and climbs into the car.
Oh, no. You're staying right here with me.
Biff pulls her toward him.
Get your hands off her, you bastard!
Biff leers at Marty.
I'll take care of you after I take care of her. Take him around back. I'll be there in a minute. Go on, this ain't no peep show.
They drag Marty away. Biff shuts the car door and tries to kiss her. She struggles, and in a moment, all we can see through the windshield are tussling arms and legs, accompanied by Lorraine's muffled screams. On the side of the school, Skinhead, Match, and 3D drag Marty around the corner to the side of the school where a Cadillac is parked with its trunk open.
Hey, let's lock him up in that trunk.
They throw Marty into the car trunk and slam the lid shut. Then the Cadillac's driver's door is open, and the drummer from the band steps out. He's smoking a reefer.
Nice.
Say, what you messing with my car for?
Who's 3D?
Beat it, Spook. This doesn't concern you.
The other 3 car doors. I'm laughing at him being a surfer. I don't. The other 3 car doors open.
Scott, and nothing.
And Marvin Moon and the other band members get out. They look real bad with their processed hair.
Who you calling Spook, Peckerwood?
Biff's boys exchange worried looks as the band members advance on them.
Hey, I don't want to mess with no reefer addicts.
Biff's boys take off in the opposite direction from the Packard, but Marvin and the band manage to kick them all in the ass as they run away. Now we hear beating on the trunk from the inside and Marty's muffled voice.
Let me out! Let me out!
Hey, Reginald, where's your keys?
The drummer checks his pockets and inside the car. He can't find them.
They're in here! The keys are in here!
Damn it, boy, you left them suckers in the trunk.
In the Packard, Lorraine is trying to fight off Biff. It's a real struggle for her. In the parking lot, through the windshield, we see arms and legs flailing about in a struggle. We hear screaming. Now, George arrives. He spots the car and goes into his act. He adjusts his pants, strides to the car like John Wayne, and opens the driver's door.
Hey, you! Get your damn hand... Uh-oh.
George realizes he's facing Biff. Now he's really scared.
I think you got the wrong car, McFly.
George, please help me.
George doesn't know what to do. He stares in dumbfounded amazement.
Just close the door, McFly, and walk away.
George hesitates. He doesn't know what to do. He looks at Lorraine, who looks back at him with pleading eyes. He looks at Biff.
Are you deaf, McFly? Close the door and beat it.
Again, George looks at Lorraine. She looks so helpless. George takes a breath.
No. You let her alone.
All right, McFly. You had your chance. Now I'm going to teach you a lesson.
Biff gets out of his car and grabs George's arm. George tries to fight back, but his lame punch is ineffectual. Biff twists George's arm. George grimaces. At the Cadillac, Marvin has his screwdriver in the lock. He gives it a hard jerk. The trunk pops open, but he puts a big gash in his hand.
Damn it. I sliced my hand.
Marty jumps out of the trunk.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
He dashes back toward the Packard. At the Packard, Biff twists George's arm harder.
Stop it. Biff, you'll break his arm.
She tries to pull him away. He pushes her down. Biff laughs. Now Marty arrives just in time to witness. George's expression immediately goes from pain to rage, the intense rage. And George lets go with a tremendous left hook smack into Biff's face. Biff hits the ground, out cold. George can't believe he did it. He looks at his fist, looks down at Biff, and grins widely.
Oh, George, you were wonderful.
She looks at him with adoring eyes. Marty can't believe it either. George and Lorraine embrace. Marty keeps his distance, allowing them to have their moment. Nearby, a few kid bystanders trade comments.
Who is that? Does he go to our school?
Yeah, that's George McFly. He's been my homeroom for 2 years.
I never noticed him before.
George and Lorraine head for the school. George and Lorraine go up the front stairs. Marty watches him from a safe distance away. Just as they're about to go in, Lorraine turns and sees Marty. She smiles. He smiles back. Now Marty pulls out the snapshot and takes a look. Linda's feet are now gone. Marty is the only one in the picture. In the background, we hear distant thunder. Marty is shocked. He considers the situation a moment, then realizes the answer. He runs back toward Marvin's Cadillac. At the Cadillac, Marvin is wrapping a handkerchief around his cut hand. The band members are all shaking their heads. Marty runs over to them.
Hey, you guys, you gotta go back in there and finish the dance.
Look at Marvin's hand. He can't play it with that like that, and we can't play without Marvin.
No, but you gotta play. That's where they kiss for the first time on the dance floor. If there's no music, they can't dance. If they can't dance, they won't kiss. If they don't kiss, they won't fall in love. I'm a goner.
Hey, man, the dance is over. Unless you know somebody who can play the guitar.
Marty looks at Marvin and smiles. Marty is playing the guitar with the Midnighters in a version of Earth Angel. George and Lorraine are on the floor dancing. Marty looks at them, then looks at the back of his guitar, where attached with chewing gum is the snapshot. Nothing has changed. Marty watches his parents. He's getting nervous. George and Lorraine are looking at each other as they dance. George seems a little unsure of himself.
Aren't you going to kiss me, George?
Oh, well, I don't know.
Now Dixon butts in.
Beat it, McFly. I'm cutting in.
He pushes George out of the way. On stage, Marty reacts with horror. He looks at the snapshot. Marty's own image is now beginning to fade. Marty blinks his eyes and starts hitting wrong notes. He doesn't seem to be able to play the guitar anymore. The drummer notices this.
Hey, man, what's wrong?
I can't play. I don't know how to play the guitar.
Marty is turning pale. He can barely stand up.
I don't feel so good.
Extreme close-up on Marty. The $10,000 ILM shot. He holds his hand in front of his face. We are actually able to slightly see through his hand to his face. They overpaid for that shot. Let's go, Jim. The band keeps playing while Marty gets woozy. George sees Dixon with Lorraine. He strides over to them with determination.
Excuse me.
He yanks Dixon away from Lorraine, then takes Lorraine in his arms and kisses her. On stage, Marty immediately recovers. He jumps up full of life, wired with energy. The color returns to his face, and he looks at the snapshot. Marty's image is now sharp and clear, and his sister and brother are fading back in. Marty rejoins the band in Earth Angel. He sees that George and Lorraine are dancing very close. From the looks of their faces, there can be no doubt they are in love. George makes eye contact with Marty. They smile. George gives Marty the okay hand sign. Marty takes another look at the snapshot. The photo is now as it was originally, with Marty, Linda, and Dave all back in existence. Marty is delighted. The band finishes Earth Angel. The audience applauds.
Say, you're good, man. Do another one.
No, I gotta go.
Come on. Let's do something that cooks.
Marty thinks a moment, then smiles slyly.
Well, all right. You guys just have to follow me on this one. We're going to do one more. Where I come from, they call this rock and roll.
Marty starts playing a guitar riff.
Drums, give me a blues beat to this.
Marty picks out the rhythm. The drummer follows along.
Bass, do this.
Marty hums the bass line. The bass player joins in.
Piano, take the bass line and play it up 3 octaves.
The piano player does so.
Sax, improvise on the third chord progression.
The saxophone does so, and it sounds like rock and roll. Series of shots, dance number on the dance floor, heads turn. There are reactions of astonishment from everyone, and the kids start dancing. Marty euphorically begins cavorting around like Little Richard. The band is really getting into it, and the kids all go nuts, jumping and screaming. Mr. Strickland, however, just shakes his head with disgust. Marty whips off his sports coat and throws it into the crowd. As George and Lorraine dance, other couples move past George and talk to him.
George, I hear you laid out Biff. Nice going.
George, did you ever think about running for class president?
We sure could use you on a team, George.
Well, I'll have to think about it.
Lorraine beams, proud to be seen with George. The backstage, Marvin Berry is on the phone.
Chuck, this is Marvin. Marvin Berry, your cousin. Look, you know how you're looking for that new sound? Well, listen to this.
He holds the phone towards the music. The pandemonium continues. Now Marty tears open his shirt and does some Elvis pelvis moves. Girls scream. Marty's movements become Mick Jagger-esque, then take on a Michael Jackson style. Finally, he drifts into pure heavy metal, puts his guitar next to the amp, making feedback. This goes a little too far for 1955 musical taste. The band stops playing and the kids stop dancing. They all watch Marty, not sure what to think. Marty suddenly realizes he's gone too far. He smiles sheepishly and steps up to the microphone.
Sorry. You guys aren't ready for that yet. But your kids are going to love it.
He picks up the song again with the band. They do one more chorus. Marty wraps up the song with the final riff, and the students all go berserk and applaud. Backstage, Marty appears about to exit. He sees Lorraine approaching with George behind her.
Marty, that was some very interesting music. I hope you don't mind, but George asked if he could take me home.
That's fine, Lorraine. That's great. I'd like nothing better. You know, I sort of had a feeling about you two.
I know. I sort of have a feeling too. I think George could really make me happy.
Marty gulps, knowing what's in store for these two.
Yeah. Listen, I gotta be leaving town tonight, and I just want to say it's really been emotional.
Marty.
Educational. I don't know why I said the other word.
The opposite.
Say that one more time.
You're right.
This has really been educational.
Marty, will I ever see you again?
Oh, yeah. I guarantee it.
George steps forward, extending his hand.
Sorry, just making sure my internet hasn't gone out. Good night, Marty. Thanks for your help and all your good advice. I hope I can do the same for you someday.
Yeah, sure. I gotta go. Good luck, both of you. Hey, listen. If you guys ever have kids and one of them accidentally, when he's 8 years old, sets fire to the living room rug, just go easy on him.
Marty runs off, leaving George and Lorraine together.
Marty. It's such a nice name. When I have kids, I'm going to name one of them Marty.
Aren't you rushing things a little?
Well, maybe a little. I was thinking I'd like to go to college next year.
Me too.
It's 4 minutes. It's 4 minutes before 10 at the clock tower. Doc, wearing the trench coat, paces back and forth anxiously. The wind is picking up and we hear distant thunder. The entire lightning rod setup is complete with the cable strung across the street between the two lampposts. Brown checks his wristwatch, 9:56.
Damn! Where is that kid?
Brown pulls out a pocket watch and checks it, 9:56.
Damn!
Brown checks a wristwatch on his other wrist. It's 9:56.
Damn!
At last, the Packard pulls up across the street from the tarp DeLorean. Marty jumps out, dressed in his 1985 clothes.
You're late! Do you have no concept of time?
Brown pulls the tarp off the DeLorean and raises the trolley hook on back to its full height.
Take it easy, Doc. I had to change my clothes. Everything's cool. They're back together. And look, here's the proof.
Marty shows the fully restored snapshot.
Yeah, old George really came through. Laid out Biff with one punch. Cold cocked him. I never knew he had it in him. My old man's never stood up to Biff in his life.
Brown opens the DeLorean door.
All right, let's set your destination time. This is the exact time you left.
The LED readout labeled last time of departure is October 26, 1985, 1:31 a.m. Doc punches the appropriate keypad.
Let's send you back to exactly the same time.
The readout labeled destination time lights up to read October 26, 1985, 1:31 a.m. We can see that the two readouts show identical dates and times.
It'll be like you never left. Now, I've painted a white line on the street up there. That's where you start from. I've calculated the precise distance, taking into account the acceleration speed and wind resistance retroactive from the moment lightning will strike.
He picks up a wind-up alarm clock.
When this alarm goes off, you hit the gas.
Brown gives it a wind, then sets it on the DeLorean dashboard. Brown looks around, then sighs.
Well, I guess that's everything.
Marty extends his hand.
Doc, thanks for everything.
They shake hands.
Thank you. I'll see you in about 30 years.
Marty sighs again, thinking of Brown's destiny and the letter.
Yeah, I hope so.
Don't worry. As long as you hit that wire with this hook, everything will be fine.
Right.
Brown puts his hands in his pockets and withdraws the letter Marty put there. He looks at it curiously. Marty turns away.
What's the meaning of this?
You'll find out in 30 years.
It's about the future, isn't it? Information about the future? I warned you about this, kid. The consequences could be disastrous.
You gotta take that risk, Doc. Your life depends on it.
No, I'm not going to accept the responsibility.
Brown tears up the envelope and shoves the pieces into the Packard ashtray.
All right, Doc, in that case, I'm just gonna have to tell you straight out.
But before Marty can get the words out, a tremendous gust of wind comes up, accompanied by a loud crack. They turn. A tree limb in the square has blown down right on top of the cable between the clock tower and the first lamppost. The paddle plug attached to the lightning rod on the clock tower is yanked out, and the cable drops down from the clock tower.
Great Scott, kid, find the end of that cable. I'll throw the rope down to you.
Brown grabs a big coil of rope and dashes into the courthouse. Marty gulps. He takes a look at the fallen tree branch on the cable, then goes hunting for the other end of it. The wind is picking up and the sound of thunder approaches. Brown charges up several flights of chairs like a madman. Marty pulls in the cable, hunting for the other end of it, and at last he finds it. He looks at the clock tower. Brown rushes up a flight of rough-hewn steps into the belfry. He is momentarily silhouetted by the clock face as he slips between the giant gears and disappears behind the bell. A door opens up, giving access to the ledge below the clock. Brown steps out as pigeons flutter away. His hair blows wildly in the wind and lightning flashes in the distance. He looks up. His POV of the connecting socket dangling in its cable between the 1 and 2 of the huge clock face. The other end is attached to the lightning rod on the tower above. Brown looks down at Marty 5 stories below, waving with the paddle plug in hand. Brown tosses one end of the rope down. The coil unravels. The rope drops down to the ground. Marty runs over and grabs it. He ties it to the paddle plug. He waves back to Brown. Brown nods and starts pulling the rope with the cable back up. Marty watches anxiously as the cable goes back up. He yells up at Doc. Doc,
I gotta tell you about the future.
We can barely hear him.
What?
The future! On the night I travel back in time, the terrorists show up and you get...
Bong! It's exactly 10, and the clock bells strike 10. Marty can't be heard over the sound. Doc almost loses his balance with the huge bells tolling so close. He regains his footing, then pulls the rope up the rest of the way. He's got the paddle plug in hand. Doc yells at Marty, but he can't be heard over the bells. Doc gestures that he's got the cable and that Marty should go. Marty hesitates, but Doc gestures adamantly. At last, Marty nods and runs to the DeLorean. Doc unties the rope from the end of the paddle plug and looks up at its socket mate dangling on the clock face. He reaches up for it, but he can't quite get to it. He'll have to move across the ledge and get closer. Marty climbs into the DeLorean and closes the gold wing door. Marty turns the key in the ignition and revs it up. He puts the car in gear. The DeLorean takes off. Doc looks down and sees the DeLorean heading down the street. Doc moves closer to the ledge. He reaches up, but he still not close enough to grab the dangling socket. Lightning and thunder move ever closer. The DeLorean passes a hand-painted white line on the street. Brown has also painted the words "Start Here" for Marty's benefit. Marty makes a U-turn and pulls up to it like a starting line. Marty has an anxious expression on his face.
Damn it, Doc. Why'd you have to tear up that letter? If only there was a little more time.
Marty glances down at the two readouts, destination time and last time departed. Yeah, go ahead.
Or whatever. More time. I just give myself more time.
He pushes the appropriate buttons on the keypad. The minutes indicator on destination time begins counting backwards. 1:31, 1:30, 1:29. At the clock tower, Brown, with the cable in his left hand, moves a little further down the ledge. Suddenly, the ledge cracks and crumbles beneath his feet. Doc drops the cable and grabs onto the clock hands to save himself. The cable drops onto his left foot. Doc hangs precariously from the clock face like Harold Lloyd, wind blowing his hair and lightning cracking in the sky. Doc carefully moves his right foot toward the intact section of the ledge while trying to keep the cable balanced on his left foot. His right foot moves closer. At last, it finds safe footing. Doc takes a deep breath, then hops over onto the ledge. He kicks the cable up from his left foot and catches it in his hand. He sighs relief. Everything is all right. He reaches up with his right and is able to grab the dangling socket. Marty is still fiddling with the destination time. 1:26, 1:25, 1:24, 1:23, 1:22, 1:21. Suddenly the engine dies. Marty tries to restart it, but it won't turn over.
Come on.
Doc has the plug in his left hand, the socket in his right. He brings them toward each other to plug them in, but they won't reach. Both ends are taut, but he's about a foot short. He looks down at a tree limb caught on the cable, which is the reason there's no slack. Doc jerks the end of the cable, trying to free it from the tree limb. He tries to disengage it, but he can't free it. His face takes on intense determination, exaggerated by the wind and lightning. He gives the cable a tremendous yank. The cable jerks free from the tree, but the plug at the other end is wrenched out of the connecting socket on the lamppost. Brown reacts with horror. By now, let's see. He now has a useless plug in his 180 hand. I'm reading the scene. In his hand, lightning cracks even closer. Marty is still trying to get the car restarted. Now the alarm clock rings.
Shit!
At last, the engine roars to life. Marty switches the time circuits on. The various indicators light up. Marty puts the car in gear. Marty's foot hits the gas pedal. The DeLorean peels out. Doc looks at the two cables in his hand and the loose and below, but how can he get everything connected? Suddenly he realizes what he must do. He ties the two of them tightly together, then plugs them in. The DeLorean accelerates. It passes 40 miles an hour. Doc tests the tied connected cables and tries to make sure that they won't come apart. They're secure. He takes a deep breath, then jumps the line tightly. Or grips the line tightly and jumps. He slides down the cable and drops to the ground. He runs over to the cable toward the lamppost. The DeLorean approaches the square. Marty drives with determination. The speedometer passes 65. The approaching wire strung across the street meets Marty's view. Brown gets the plug end of the cable. It's dislodged from the tree limb, so he has enough slack. He races to the lamppost and the dangling socket. The DeLorean continues accelerating. The speedometer passes 85. The indicator lights behind Marty begin registering. Doc grabs the socket cable and plugs his cable in. The speedometer hits 88, and the most spectacular bolt of lightning in the history of cinema strikes the lightning rod. In a series of cuts, the connecting cable becomes electrified. The DeLorean passes under the cable between the lampposts. The trolley hook on the DeLorean makes contact with the electrified cable. The flux capacitor glows and discharges. The DeLorean's time coils light up, and the vehicle is sent back to the future. Doc lets out a whoop of delight and relief as he's drenched by the deluge. The cable across the street has wrenched the trolley pole out of the rear of the DeLorean. It's left there swinging from the cable. Doc looks up at the clock tower. The clock is stopped at 10:04 as lightning cracks behind it, and we dissolve to October 26th, 1985. The storm dissolves away into an ordinary night. The clock tower shows 30 years of additional age. Camera cranes down to reveal Hill Valley Town Square as we saw it in the beginning. All is quiet. It's late. A raggedy bum is asleep on a bench. Suddenly, his hair begins to stand on end. He's lit by an off-screen flash of light accompanied by a sonic boom and a sharp blast of wind. We hold on him as we hear a screech of tires and an off-screen crash. The bum awakens and looks up to see there is a big hole in the front of what used to be the theater. Suddenly, the DeLorean backs out and onto the street. The bum shakes his head.
Crazy drunk driver.
He goes back to sleep. Marty looks at the readouts on the DeLorean. Present time now matches destination time, October 26, 1985, 1:24 a.m. Last time departed is now November 5th, 1955 at 10:04 p.m. Marty is delighted.
All right.
He turns on the car radio. A contemporary rock tune comes on.
All right.
He puts the car into forward gear. The engine dies.
Ah, shit.
He tries to start it again, but he can't get it to turn over.
Come on. Come on.
He looks over and sees out the windshield that the terrorist van is cruising down the street around a corner. Marty is horrified.
The terrorists. Damn it, it's frozen.
Marty gets out of the DeLorean and runs like hell down the street after the terrorist van. The mall at night. As Marty arrives at the mall, he keeps on running past the entrance sign that reads Lone Pine Mall with an image of a single pine tree into the parking lot, just in time to see a good 150 yards away the terrorist van chasing down Doc Brown with Marty's younger self watching frozen in terror. Marty is both horrified and amazed. Horrified at being too late, amazed at seeing himself, and to be seeing something he's already experienced from a third-person point of view.
God, no, I'm too late.
The terrorist leans out of the van with the machine gun. He blasts Doc Brown in the chest. Brown goes down. Everything is as it happened already.
Oh, no.
The terrorist van turns and goes after the younger Marty. Just as before, Marty dives into the DeLorean and roars off. Marty watches himself chased by the terrorist. The DeLorean accelerates, even if it's being shot, going faster and faster until it's enveloped in the blinding white glow and vanishes. But the terrorist van drives into the white glow. We hear curses. The blinded driver loses control of the van. It swerves and goes out of control, crashing into a photo mat type sand. Marty now runs toward the fallen Doc, lying face down in the parking lot. He reaches him, along with Einstein, the faithful dog. Marty turns Brown over, tears in his eyes.
Doc.
Suddenly, Brown opens his eyes and smiles.
You're alive.
Brown stands.
Of course I'm alive.
You were shot. I saw it. I saw it twice.
Brown rips open his radiation suit, revealing a bulletproof vest.
It's the latest fashion in personal protection. It'll stop a slug from an elephant rifle at 30 yards.
How did you know?
Brown smiles, reaches into his pocket, and pulls out the letter that Marty wrote, scotch taped together. It's yellow and brittle, 30 years old.
After all that lecturing about screwing up future events and the space-time continuum.
Yeah, well, I figured. What the hell?
We hear approaching police sirens. At Marty's house, the DeLorean pulls into the darkened driveway. The gold wing passenger door opens and Marty gets out. Brown is driving and Einstein takes Marty's seat. Marty turns to talk to Doc.
So how far ahead you going?
I figure I'll take it slow at first, go about 30 years just to get my feet wet. Then maybe see what's shaking in the 22nd or 23rd century.
Well, good luck. And you get a chance, look me up. I'll be 47 years old.
I will. Funny, I had to wait 30 years to catch up to you. Now you've got to wait 30 years to catch up to me. Ain't life weird?
Brown gives him a wink. Marty closes the door. Marty waves Brown off and heads around the side of the house. In the background, the DeLorean zooms off and we see the light of the off-screen time travel glow. Marty is hit by the sharp blast of wind. The next day, Marty's on top of his bed, sleeping in his clothes. Morning light streams in through the bedroom window. He stirs and opens his eyes. He blinks several times as if getting his bearings, then sits up and looks around. Yes, it's his room, all right, and everything seems the same from the SR5 posters to his audio equipment. Marty looks at the clock, 8:30. He looks at the wall calendar. The first 25 days of October are X'd off. Today is the 26th. Could it have all been a dream? He gets out of bed and looks at himself in the mirror, then pinches himself to make sure he's real. He is. On the nightstand is a framed 5x7 version of the snapshot with he and his siblings. It looks the same. He reaches into his waistband and pulls out the submission form to the record company. He looks at it, then decisively pulls the cassette tape out of his drawer and puts it in the envelope with the form. Marty comes out of his room with the envelope. He goes down the hall and stops short as he enters. In the dining room, Linda and Dave are seated at the table, which has been beautifully set for breakfast. The 5 table settings are elegant. Dave is eating a half of grapefruit. Linda has strawberries and a croissant. Dave is wearing an expensive tailored suit and reads Forbes magazine.
Hey, Linda, I'm not your answering machine, but somebody named Craig or Greg called you a little while ago.
Well, who was it? Greg or Craig?
Oh, I don't know. I can't keep track of all your boyfriends.
What the hell is this?
Breakfast? What happened? Did you sleep in your clothes again?
Dave, what are you wearing? Aren't you working today?
Sure, I always work on Saturday.
What's with the suit?
What else was I going to wear to the office? Are you all right, Marty?
Yeah.
Now George and Lorraine enter from outside. They're tanned and healthy, dressed in tasteful clothes. George carries himself with an air of confidence, and Lorraine looks terrific, thin and svelte, radiantly healthy and positive. This is a happy marriage. Marty, you can tell because they're attractive. Marty can't believe how good his mother looks.
Mom, you look so thin. I mean, you look great.
Why, thank you, Marty. Say, tonight's the big night, right? Your big date with Jennifer Parker. Such a nice girl. I sure like her.
Pardon me, Ma?
You're going up to the lake tonight, right? Haven't you been planning it for 2 weeks?
Mom, we went through this last night. How can I go if Dad's car is wrecked?
Wrecked? There's nothing wrong with my car. In fact, Biff should be out there waxing it right now.
Outside the McFly house, Biff is in the driveway waxing a new BMW. Biff is working diligently. His rough edges and arrogance are all gone.
Hey, Biff, don't forget, 2 coats of wax this time.
Oh, I'm finishing up the second coat now.
Biff, don't try to con me.
I mean, I was just about to start on the second coat.
Marty is absolutely astonished.
Oh, what a character. Always trying to get away with something. Some employees will get away with murder if you don't stay on him. I've had to keep him in line ever since high school.
Now, George, you know if it wasn't for Biff, you and I never would have gotten married.
Yeah, Mom, you told us like a million times. Dad beat him up when he was bothering you, and that's how you 2 fell in love at the Fish Under the Sea dance.
Marty at last understands what's going on here.
No, it was the enchantment under the sea.
That's right. My father literally came to my rescue. It was so romantic.
Ugh, Cornball City.
Biff enters and hands George a hardback book.
Oh, Mr. McFly, this just came in. It's the cover artwork for your novel.
It's called A Match Made in Space, and the cover shows a bedroom with a space alien talking to a couple in bed, very reminiscent of Marty's Darth Vader visitation to George. The style indicates it's a science fiction romance novel. The author's name, George McFly, is in big letters.
My first novel. I hope it sells.
Oh, of course it'll sell, dear. After all, you've been selling stories ever since college.
That's right, Dad. Where's that positive attitude of yours?
Sure. This book is going to do just fine. And where's that tape of yours, Marty? I want to mail that for you. This is going to do just fine, too.
I hope so.
Confidence, Marty. Like I've always told you, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
Oh, Marty, here's your keys. You're all waxed and ready for tonight.
Biff tosses him a set of keys.
My keys?
Marty comes out of the house and opens the garage door, revealing a tricked out black Toyota 4x4, just like he saw in the showroom. Marty can't believe it. He approaches it.
How about a ride, mister?
Marty turns. It's Jennifer. She looks just the same. Great.
Jennifer! Oh, you ever a sight for sore eyes. Let me look at you.
Marty looks at her as if trying to make sure she's real. Jennifer is hard-pressed to understand why Marty is making such a big deal about this.
Marty, you're acting like you haven't seen me in a week.
I haven't.
Are you okay? Is everything all right?
Marty looks back at his house. George and Lorraine in the doorway, arms around each other. Marty looks back at Jennifer.
Everything's great, Jen. Just great.
He pulls her toward him, and they're just about to kiss when we hear a sonic boom, and Marty turns. The DeLorean streaks up in front of the house. Doc Brown jumps out, more wild-eyed and frantic than we've ever seen him. His clothes are bizarre, a weird mixture of past and future, a strange variation on a Roman tunic, a cape, and striped plastic pants. His baseball cap is embroidered with the logo Peoria World's Fair 2015. His American flag shoulder patch has 63 stars.
Marty! You've got to come back to me with me. Back to the future.
Doc, I got Jennifer here. I was just going to try out the new wheels.
Well, bring her along. This concerns her too.
Brown opens the passenger gold wing door for him. Marty and Jennifer approach cautiously. Brown goes around the back of the DeLorean and pours a bottle of beer into an opening labeled Westinghouse Mr. Fusion Home Energy Converter.
I need fuel.
What do you mean? What happens? Does something happen to us? Do we turn into assholes or something?
No, you and Jennifer just both turn out just fine, but your kids, Marty, something gotta be done about your kids.
Brown gets back in the DeLorean. Marty gets in. Jennifer sits on his lap. She closes the door.
Okay, here we go.
Whoa, you better back this thing up, Doc. We haven't got enough road to get to 88.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Brown hits a new switch on the dashboard. The DeLorean speeds down the street, then blasts off into the sky like a streak. Once again, the coils glow, and the DeLorean is enveloped in the familiar white glow and disappears into the future. Roll in titles, fade out, the end.
Banner!
Yay!
Woo!
That was some good reading, Scott.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Woof. That was a lot of fun, you guys.
Yeah, that was fun.
Good job, everybody.
If we do this again, maybe we'll find something that has less action lines. Oh man.
Yeah, we'll do some Kevin Smith.
Yeah. Perfect.
Where everybody runs out of air halfway through each speech. Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yeah.
Glad you can make it.
Yeah, let us know if you enjoyed this. If this is something you would go experience again. If it's something you want us to keep doing.
Yeah. We can do like other movies or whatever.
Yes.
There's lots of
some
scripts
Walt
out
Whitman.
there.
Yeah.
I started enjoying myself.
That's good.
I liked all the props today. I was not expecting.
Yeah. Oh, that was the best. Anytime a new one came up, I was like, ah! And I kept trying to not make a sound because as soon as I speak, I know the camera would go to me. And I'm like, don't look at me.
I was really wanting to tell someone I made this, but I also didn't want to tell anyone I made it.
Yeah, good.
It was
Good.
perfect.
Yeah.
So awesome.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Hopefully we'll do another one of these sometime. Next month when we do a hangout, it'll probably just be more of like a normal hangout.
Yeah.
But yeah. So thanks everybody, and we'll see you around.
Bye.
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 Bye.